The light outside the windows is blinding and some of it is brightening the dull room. Then some groans were heard from inside the bunk bed, and there was a girl in there. She is up and rubs her eyes to wake herself up. The girl then brushes her teeth in a rush and quickly leaves the gloomy-looking bathroom. She makes her way to the closet and picks a red outfit for the day. She gets changed and puts on her little boots. She fixes the bow on her collar and grabs her bag. The young lady tells her brother, who is working at the study table, that she's leaving. After hearing his response, she leaves the shabby apartment, makes her way up to the staircase, and walks out of the building. Then we see a woman with a big butt arranging books in a bookstore. Her name is Ogawa Sumreko, and a dude walks into the room, announcing he is bringing in the new volumes that just arrived. He asks her to cover those volumes with plastic covers, and she agrees happily. The woman gets busy working in the Midori bookstore. After a while, she starts scanning her surroundings as she hears a mischievous sound. She looks at Adashino, who's sitting right beside her, and asks him if she's hallucinating or did he hear a bird call in the shop too. Adashino is busy tying the manga, and after hearing Sumreko's concern, he simply responds with another bird call. Adashino smiles and feels proud of his little prank, but Sumreko isn't pleased. It seems that Adashino pulls these silly pranks daily, but this time, he caught his colleague off guard because the prank was kind of out of the blue. He then happily tells Sumreko that the sound he made was the kenko dori, which means giving vent to one's sorrow and solitude. Sumreko has no clue what Adashino is trying to say, but Adashino continues with his knowledge dump. He tells the woman that the kenko dori is also known as the regular kaku. Sumreko sighs and feels bad for Adashino, assuming that working alongside her must be boring for him. But that's not the truth. In fact, Adashino is working there only because he can be on the register with Sumreko. The buttering is smooth here. Sumreko just laughs it off and reminds Adashino that he shouldn't be joking around with his elders like that. She thinks that Adashino is flirting with her, so she tells him to come back after another 10 years. She is avoiding the bars. Adashino is quite literally pretending to drool at the idea of seeing Sumreko all matured up and a very hot physique by that time. Sumreko catches up on the fact that Adashino is being ironic and gets offended. Adashino was joking around with her out of boredom and mentioned how both of them had nothing to do at the moment. Sumreko felt called out after hearing that and worriedly looked around the store cause it looked as empty as ever. According to Sumreko, all the bookstores in the world are out of work and hence shutting down because people don't need books anymore. It must be that damn phone again. The woman starts yawning and Adashino can tell right away that she had been up all night to write. Sumreko excitedly thanks Adashino for his concern and brings up her interests. It seems as if she had been dying to talk about the information on Kizuragi Station that dropped on some occult forum very recently. Adashino seems to know what the woman is talking about, and apparently, it's some infamous urban legend. The guy doesn't believe in it and thinks it's all a made-up lie. He then proceeds to yap about how someone as old as Sumreko believes in these kinds of stories. This dude was technically calling her a boomer. Sumreko gets all worked up and flicks his forehead to shut his mouth. She tells the dude that he is in no position to talk crap about the story as he had been reading it religiously himself. She calls him a youngster, which Adashino doesn't seem to entertain much, and he gets a little upset. Sumreko doesn't want to miss out on the chance to talk about this occult thing. Talking about it makes her blush, and she's fantasizing about the joy this occult brings her through the horror and thrill of reading about things that are not under a normal human's comprehension. To her, the thrill and fear are as important as food and arousal. Adashino looks concerned about Sumreko's taste, and rightfully so. Who in their right mind would compare fear to arousal like that? To Adashino, Sumreko's obsessions translate to a boy pulling an all-nighter to watch adult movies. The comparison was on point, but Sumreko didn't like it and scolded the poor guy for not understanding what she actually meant. As the two are arguing, we see the footsteps of a man approaching the cashier's desk. It was the store's manager, and his voice easily caught Sumreko's attention. The manager was surprised by how much Adashino had been talking to Sumreko. Sumreko was as much in disbelief as him, but wasn't too happy about it. Adashino was pissing her off for obvious reasons, and Sumreko turned around to glare at him with her furrowed eyebrows. Adashino just smiles at her, but Sumreko is bothered by him because he is not talking like before. Well, she feels insulted, but the manager knows what's up. He tells her that the boy talks to her only so it is just natural for him to go mute when someone else is around. The manager was so caught up in the fire between Adashino and Sumreko that he forgot what he was there for. He then quickly pulls up an old-looking book and gives it to the woman. He He tells her that it was a gift, and Sumureko looks at it cluelessly, not knowing what it is about. The manager tells her that it is a book that was reverse shoplifted. Sumureko had never heard of that term before, so the manager decided to mansplain. He tells her that it is the opposite of shoplifting. Let me try explaining this in a better way. Shoplifting means stealing something from the store, and reverse shoplifting would be secretly leaving something at the store. It sounds more like charity, but we move. Sumureko finds the manager's explanation incorrect, and to her, reverse shoplifting sounds more like an angry and dissatisfied customer leaving a 1-star review on the website. The manager slightly feels embarrassed and starts fixing his glasses, saying they should drop this discussion. This creep of a manager remembers that it is Sumureko's birthday, and the mention of her birthday makes Adashino open his dumb eyes. His eyes look very scary, and suddenly, an old memory of seeing Sumureko at the newcomer's award presentation ceremony flashes in Adashino's mind. Later we see the both of them in the staff room, and Sumureko is busy drinking her juice. Adashino decides to ask her about the new novel she has been writing lately. The woman tells her that she has been unable to write properly these days and that she needs to fix her issues. Adashino then starts sulking at the fact that Sumureko doesn't consider him as one of her close friends. He is upset because she didn't tell him that it was her birthday that day and he wanted to give her a present to make her happy. Sumureko thinks of something to make up for it. She comes up with a very cheesy yet sweet gift idea and tells Adashino that his consideration towards her lonely ass would be the best present for her. Adashino starts laughing hysterically and says that he can't leave her alone as he is her biggest fan after all. Hearing that must have made Sumureko very happy because she looked very lightened afterwards. The two of them leave the staff room together, and Sumureko tells Adashino to keep talking. Not bothered by his yapping anymore, It is dark outside by the time Sumureko leaves the store, and as she is walking, she decides to create a note to keep memory of things she doesn't want to forget. She begins with introducing herself and proceeds with mentioning her friend, Adashino Ren. She thinks of Adashino as someone who never runs out of cheesy things to say, and their bond is unmatched, but like everything else does, they will part ways someday. Sumureko's note comes to an end, and she and Adashino go their separate ways after the shift's end. Sumureko safely makes it back to her house and undresses herself to hop into a hot shower right away. It is almost midnight, and Sumureko is winding down and relaxing, watching her favorite TV show. She sips on her drink as we are brought to her past as the clock almost hits 12. Sumureko recalls being on her laptop and someone at the back congratulating her. The memory makes her smile, and she looks at the clock. It is 12 a.m. sharp now, and just like that, Sumureko turns 28. She wishes herself a happy birthday and knocks out after 15 minutes. Her room looks very unorganized. The books are scattered everywhere, and so are her clothes. Sumureko herself is lying with her back facing the roof. She thinks of the time when she was an amazing writer and could write anything without a problem. At the age of 15, Sumureko was awarded with a newcomer's award. Her books in the back, like the one by the name Simply Walk Alone, like Rhino's Horn, are the live evidence of her talent. But as soon as she hit early 20s, her potential started washing off. The gifted child who could do anything anytime is now residing in a coffin, buried under the weight of all the what it could have been. That's why the 28-year-old Sumureko thinks of herself as just another ordinary human down 4 blocks from her house. The woman feels very depressed and wants to go back to what she was as a child, but it almost seems impossible. Then a heavy thud of something falling brings Sumureko back to the present. The book her store manager gifted her had fallen out of the bag, and she crawled forward to check it out. She tries very hard to read what was written on it, but even the title was unreadable. The book looks very old, and Sumureko is busy trying to make sense of the words that look like Japanese. The pages look worn out, and Sumureko gets stuck on hiragana, a form of Japanese language. The words in hiragana are the only thing Sumureko can understand, so she starts reading. There was a poem written there which can be summarized as someone yearning for their significant other. The author is regretful of the fact that his muse is growing older as the days pass. The poem itself sounds very unsettling, but Sumureko doesn't think much of it and guesses the reference book right away. The poem is from the Manyoshu and just laughs at how old people didn't want to age and wish they could turn young again, just like the people of her age. She then closes the book, not caring about the unfolded pair of jeans lying on the floor. Sumureko then decides to go buy a cake to celebrate her birthday. Later we see Adashino texting Sumureko and wishing her a happy birthday. He's asking her to age like a fine wine in the future. No idea why Sumureko doesn't find these comments creepy, but they, for sure, annoy her a little. Sumureko thanks Adashino for the birthday wish and tells him that she's going to stab him someday jokingly. Adashino would love that for him, and Sumureko advises him to not forget that everyone is bound to get infected by age. She uses the word youngster again to address Adashino, and he laughs at her on the other side of the phone. The boy thinks to himself how the word youngster doesn't align well with his age. Adashino then looks at the moon, and we are brought to Sumureko walking up to a convenience store, bashing Adashino out for his lack of consideration. As soon as Sumureko walks in and picks up the grocery basket, her body starts acting up. She noticed her hand shrinking in size, but thought it was her shirt. As she looked down to see her clothes, her breasts started becoming smaller right before her eyes. Sumureko is losing it and her eyes start twitching too. She doesn't get what's going on with her, and she dizzyingly falls to the ground. When she got up, her height was cut down to half of her original physique. Her shoes were too big to fit her new feet, and she trips on them as she tries to walk forward. Sumureko is now barefoot, and she walks up to a refrigerator and sees her reflection in the glass door. She looks terrified of herself because she looks like a small child. She was in disbelief and started walking away from the refrigerator, but ended up hitting a wine bottle accidentally. The worker there heard the glass bottle shatter and quickly ran up there to see what was going on. He thought it would be the same woman's doing, but Sumureko quickly ran out of the store. The worker follows her, but he was shocked to find a little girl outside. The door closes as Sumureko disappears in the dark. The next day, the bookstore manager runs up to Adashino and tells him that Sumureko is absent without any notice. Adashino looks clueless, and the manager tells him that her phone is out of reach and that he is really worried about her. He asks the guy if Sumureko told him anything, and he's considering checking up on her. Adashino then tells the man that Sumureko isn't feeling well, which adds to the manager's worries. Adashino is creative with making things up, and he tells the manager that Sumureko is constipated to the point her entire body is a bag of poop now. He adds that the doctor had told her to stay home because her condition is deadly. The manager is quivering in fear, and he goes into a state of complete disbelief. Adashino makes it worse by telling him that Sumureko is in a very poor condition and that she's crying, all curled up in her bathroom. The manager didn't want to hear more of it and leaves, telling Adashino to deliver his best wishes to Sumureko. Adashino tells him that he will and opens his scary eyes to look at his phone. In reality, Adashino has no idea what's going on with Sumureko, and he texts the woman to ask what's up with her. He tries to ease Sumureko by telling her that he'll cunningly take care of the situation at the bookstore, but she doesn't respond. He starts feeling like she's ignoring him on purpose. Sumureko finally replies, and it seemed as if it was another person talking. She tells Adashino to cut the crap and stop bothering her because she doesn't know who he is. Adashino is clueless. However, Sumureko has a weirdly creepy expression on her face, and she's thinking of all kinds of mysterious stories for her novel. Her tongue is sticking out of her mouth and her fingers are busy typing on the keyboard. The storyline begins with a boy sending some text and him working at the same shop as the main character. The story is too similar to Sumureko's life, and she decides that she should go with the bookstore as the shop her main character is working at. Sumureko's shirt is too big on her body, and she's almost bare with it on. This would be the beginning of the disappearance of Sumureko Ogawa. Then at night, we see Adashino walking on the road, and he's recalling his manager's words in his head. Apparently, it has been a week since Sumureko went ghost mode, and the manager is worried sick for her. He couldn't sit still, so he ended up sending Adashino to visit Sumureko at her house. So there he is. He finally reaches the building where Sumureko's apartment is and climbs the stairs to stop outside the woman-turned-child's house. He starts ringing the doorbell and tells Sumureko that it's Adashino. He keeps asking her if she's inside but gets no response. He turned the doorknob only to find it unlocked. The unlocked door sure made him nervous, and he doesn't understand why one would leave it like this. Adashino then changes his voice to act like a cop and announces that he's entering the house because the police are searching the premises. He finally enters the house and Sumureko's shoes can be seen there. Adashino then enters the room and starts smelling something good. That something good in question was Sumureko's bra, and Adashino is disappointed that he wasn't there to do exciting things with Sumureko. What a nasty, disgusting dude. Suddenly, the phone on the desk starts ringing and Adashino approaches the device. It was put under a paper on which a bunch of random stuff was written. Adashino lifts up the paper to look at the phone, and an unknown number had been calling Sumureko. Adashino then tries to make sense of everything and notices how, despite her phone still being there is no other sign of struggle and violence. He starts to wonder where Sumuriko could be, and then something strikes. Adashino quickly looks back to find a weird sign pole standing in the middle of the room. Adashino looks very shocked, and then we see Sumuriko standing in a dark alley. She seems to be very busy with her notepad. The girl is so indulged in writing her novel that doesn't notice a strange black cat with orange eyes staring at her. The stare was very unsettling, and the eyes resembled those of Adashino's. Adashino, however, is going through Sumuriko's stuff and notices the same book the manager had gifted her. He suddenly starts sniffing it, and his eyes open wide in shock. Adashino seems to have found the cause of Sumuriko's disappearance, and apparently, the book has the most to do with it. Adashino picks up the book and starts shaking it. It produces some amount of electricity, and the boy opens it to read every page carefully. Sumuriko, on the other hand, is weirdly obsessed with her notepad. She was busy collecting the materials for her novel, and everything is complete on her side. Sumuriko is finally ready to write another novel again, and she starts giggling in an unsettling manner. Then she starts floating and jumping around the alley out of excitement. Sumuriko is happy to turn into a kid again because her brain keeps producing more and more exciting ideas to write. Sumuriko is overstimulated to the point her ears are bleeding. The girl is running back to her home, and the only thing she wants to do back there is start writing. As the word home crosses her mind, she stops in her path and starts looking around to recall where her house is. She has forgotten her way back home, and she starts scratching the back of her head like a kid until she hears a familiar voice. It was Adashino, and he tells Sumuriko that it is dangerous for a kid to wander alone at night. He offers to help her find her way back to her house if she doesn't remember. Sumuriko can't remember who this guy is and asks him who he is. She looks terrified. Adashino starts walking up to her, saying how cruel of her it is to forget him. Sumuriko was about to tell him that she remembers everything, but her head starts pounding. She kneels down on the ground while holding her head in pain. The tears fall down her eyes, and she starts clenching her teeth, saying her head is hurting. Adashino seems to know what's going on with her and tells the girl that headaches are normal in the form she is in now. He asks Sumuriko if she really thought she had turned into a child again. Adashino tells her the truth and says that Sumuriko is now caged in a child's body. He also explains how the excessive blood, muscle, and bone after shrinking is still within her body. Sumuriko is very annoyed by his chit-chat and angrily asks him how he knows all of this. Her brain twitches all of a sudden, and she finally remembers who this guy is. Sumuriko finally knows that the guy she's been talking to is Adashino. She starts pointing her finger at him and asks him why there is no sign of shock or surprise on his face after seeing Sumuriko in this state. A smirk appears on Adashino's face, and he brings out that reverse shoplifted book. He tells her that the reason she has turned into a child is because of the book she had read. Adashino discloses that the book was cursed and the writings in it are not to be read out loud. He seems to know a lot about it and tells Sumuriko that the cursed thing is a curiosity called a jusho. Sumuriko is confused and starts shouting at Adashino, telling him that she refuses to believe that a cursed book has turned her into a kid. Adashino finds it funny and tells her that the existence of this cursed book is equally nerve-wracking as the body Sumuriko is in right now. He doesn't get why Sumuriko won't believe him. Hearing him out creates a sudden shift of expressions on Sumuriko's face as she's left with no choice but to trust Adashino. Adashino tells Sumuriko that her life is at risk now, which adds to the absurdity of whatever is going on with her. Adashino begins explaining the content of the book and tells Sumuriko that there are some poems in the book Manyoshu that are written by authors that cannot be called humans. He then starts talking about the different types of poems that were written by those entities. Some poems revive the dead, and they are called the banka. A lot of poems that can manipulate people's hearts are known as the suman. And the zauna are the poems that can turn a person into a kid, bringing their youth back. Adashino knows the names of these few and starts summarizing the context of the Zoka poem. Like I mentioned earlier, this poem is written about a man's wish to see his woman's youth back. Sumuriko can clearly recall reading that poem out loud, but she still refuses to admit that reading a poem can cause something so horrible. Adashino continues with his knowledge dump and tells Sumuriko that there are certain conditions that need to be fulfilled for this curse to work. He also mentions that it is very uncommon for the spell to activate. Sumuriko is curious about the conditions for the spell because she wants to know what went wrong. Adashino does what he's asked after getting the permission. He starts by the first one, which says that the time to read the curse must be around midnight, and it was exactly 12 a.m. when Sumureko read the book. Secondly, the curse must be read under the moonlight, and the second last condition says that the reader should be 28 years old. Surprisingly, all of these conditions were met, but the last one made Sumureko lose it all. According to the fourth condition, the reader has to be a virgin maiden for the curse to work. Sumureko acts clueless, so Adashino starts saying the last condition again and again. Her reaction was screaming that she's a virgin, so Sumureko is embarrassed of herself. Adashino doesn't stop saying uncomfortable stuff, so Sumureko almost begs him to stop talking. The girl is enraged, and she tells Adashino that she might kill him if he keeps up with his crap. Sumureko doesn't understand how a cursed book made its way to her in the first place. Adashino thinks it's a coincidence, and she wasn't specifically chosen for it. Sumureko feels validated after realizing that none of it was her fault. However, her overthinking did play a part in putting her in a deadly situation. Seconds later, Sumureko started puking blood, and her eyes and nose were bleeding as well. Her ears were bleeding because of her condition too, not because of the excitement. Sumureko doesn't want to die so soon. Adashino then tells her that moonlight is a requirement for her to go back to normal. He asks the girl to follow him through the moonlight because there is a chance it might work right then and there. Sumureko ends up following Adashino, and they are under the moonlight now. Adashino tells her that they can start breaking the curse, and Sumureko asks him if she's supposed to reread the same poem. That wasn't the case. Adashino tells her that she has to read the complete choka, and he also points at the lines she's supposed to recite. Sumureko grabs the book and begins with this ritual. The poem could be summarized as a nobleman wishing for the heavens and mountains to become out of reach and wanting to steal Tsukuyomi's water of youth, just so he could make his muse young again. As soon as she finishes reading the poem, an electric shock throbs her heart and she returns to her normal self. Sumureko was panting out of tiredness and told Adashino that she felt embarrassed. Adashino asks if she's wearing panties, and she furiously tells him that she is, or else she would have been bare. Sumureko then tells Adashino to give her some clothing out of decency, so she can cover herself at least. Adashino doesn't recall having decency and gets down on the floor to get something out of his bag. He had a towel in there which she could use. Adashino also reassures Sumureko that he will get rid of the book himself too, but to his surprise, Sumureko was long gone with the book. Adashino starts chasing her, but the woman doesn't plan to give him the book. She wants to use it alone, and Adashino doesn't want to back off either. Just when he was about to catch Sumureko, she recited the same spell and turned herself into a kid. Sumureko is questioning Adashino's existence as she doesn't understand how he got so ahead of her. Adashino does that teleporting thing again, so Sumureko turns herself into the older woman to escape Adashino's wrath. The boy is tired of her games, and Sumureko is exhausted too. She is bleeding again and can't seem to get a hold of herself. Adashino approaches her and he's panting for air himself. He then asks the girl to give that book to him, but she refuses. She says that she needs the book for her writings to be creative. Adashino doesn't get what she means. Sumureko tells him that she needs to turn into a kid because her 28 years old self is talentless. Poor girl starts crying over the fact that her adulthood is wasted because she is a nobody now. Her devotion to writing novels hasn't died out, but they are not good enough for anyone to read. Sumureko is weeping like a little kid, screaming how she wants her writing to be acknowledged by people. Adashino slowly approaches her only to pick her runny nose. He gives her the towel and starts comforting her, saying she's an old brave woman who has the balls to run bare in the streets. Adashino tells her that he is a huge fan of her writings and asks her to keep writing so he can continue reading. Sumureko starts feeling a little better, and she gets up to recite the reverse curse again. She turns into her original self and hands the cursed book to Adashino. Sumureko loses her consciousness not long after, and Adashino is happy to see her back. Later, the same sign pole appears and an old woman can be heard guiding someone to report a found article. It was Adashino, and he handed the Jusho book to this mysterious woman. In return, he offers one ticket to Yami Station to Adashino, and the offer wasn't too tempting to him, so he takes the book back. The woman felt pity for the guy as he walked away. He is looking up the staircase, and hearing the woman say, "mysterious disappearances," makes him freeze in his steps as the fear washes over him. The air seems to be thickening with each second passing as they flip the pages over the table. This conference never felt lighter, always heavier than a magician's hat. Across the table, she felt so young when they were dissecting her script like a science project, judged by the rocket scientist. She slid back on her chair when a bead of sweat rolled down her cheek while sitting like a nervous deer about to get hunted. Though these writers keep pointing at her pent-up emotions for her young age, while others point at her overcomplicated extra elements, none seem to be quite writing to the point. She feels like it always has been harder to be on the pedestal, under the spotlight. Moreover, it has been a long, dusty trip down memory lane, filled with critiques who were either lost or were throwing curveballs at her. Sighing in her chair, she wishes herself a happy 28th birthday. A voice asks if it is Jusho while sliding the book away, though she confirms this to be suitable for an exchange with a ticket to Yami Station. A boy takes back the book, thinking never to do it again, while the voice finds it very disappointing to never see him do this. On the other hand, a hangman's knot hangs with blood dripping from it. A few seconds later, the boy comes out of the Kisaragi station, where a dark-haired girl, Hadashino Odo, asks him if he got the tickets. But showing her the book, he mentions not having enough curiosity, so they order him to fetch some more. Without moving a single lip, he telepathically mentions this station for being utterly spiteful and unhelpful. After that, with a warm smile, he exclaims, coming back to this girl, Odo, who is sipping her drink at this nightly hour. However, he tells her it would take him some time to finally be able to send her home. But, embracing her with warmth, this boy, Ren-nie, promises this girl he would take her to her world, although she would like him to go back with her there. Out of the blue, a girl rolls closer to the surface in her sleep, as Ren-nie mentions forgetting about Sumereko-san over this ticket fiasco. After Odo mistakes her for being Ren-nie's girlfriend, he explains this person nearly died in Curiosity's mixed-up mess. Then he tells her about Sumereko-san being his senpai who had gone the extra mile for him, but seeing her trapped in a hazy mess, he couldn't leave her like this, staring daggers at this sleepy woman sprawling on the floor out of jealousy. Though he mentions the need to alter some wardrobe changes and rethink about these panties on display. Asking if she brought some clothes, Odo almost slams a bag over his face. After stuffing that waist with some shorts, Odo claims to see a Curiosity if he wishes to check out one. Upon asking, she mentions the location of her school, Kun Girls Academy, and honestly, this is enough to open this guy's eyes. Out of the blue, Sumereko whispers about someone getting older in her sleep, startling the other two beside her. Afterward, fixing her bow, she makes an entrance with a coral color uniform before Odo and Ren-nie, while asking if this has to be done like this. However, Odo stares daggers at Ren-nie's sight, who seems to be quite enjoying this surprising display. After this, he tells Sumereko that from then on, she portrays as Odo's friend. Interrupting the mastermind's wacky ideas, Sumereko demands an explanation. So with that aside, he goes on to explain about Curiosities being behind the unexplained disappearances caused by spirits. Recalling Kamikakushi, she definitely remembers a famous story of Harada Atsutane's Senkyu Ibun. Praising her expected smarts, he mentions those look to be unnecessary in the original world, who get spirited away in this manner. Getting into a serious business mood, she demands to hear his plan involving her. Moreover, he then goes on to lay out this plan, by mentioning his little sister, Odo, attending Kun Girls Academy, where something fishy is going on, though being an all-girls school happens to be quite bothersome in this case, as he mentions his hands are tired. Thus, it would be quite helpful. He would like Sumereko to infiltrate the academy's premises by posing as Odo's friend in his place. As the room's atmosphere gets thicker, this girl Sumereko is having adrenaline pumping her muscles, enough to shoot the shoulder buttons right out of her sleeves. Agreeing to do it, this reaction knocks the socks out of Ren-nie as he calls this request utterly unreasonable on his part. But she reminds him that she is none other than author Ogawa Sumereko. With a button almost ripping apart her shirt, she calls her name is enough the reason she needs. Needless to say, she accepts the fact that fitting into this uniform is a lost cause. Thinking about it, he believes in having some hope to deal with this issue. With that, he explains her being the curse of sorts when taking on the poem's curse, bearer of youth, if one will. Just like that, he tells her that she would be able to freely elicit the transformation. Asking her to stand and try casting a spell, he believes she could easily make herself become a high schooler. As soon as she recites the spell, she suddenly loses all the old woman's charisma and body, while snapping a decade back to her younger body. The next day, as Sumereko yawns, Odo pierces her melons with a hostile gaze across her bed. After that, she quietly brushes her teeth in the mirror. As soon as she turns to see Sumereko brushing her teeth proudly, she fixes a cold stare at her tall body. Later on, seeing her fix her shoes, Odo leads her behind to get ahead. Looking at the place she came out from, she thinks about where this place could be. With that aside, she runs to catch up to Odo. After that, Ren-ni describes Kun Girls Academy, founded over 100 years ago, a prestigious middle and high school. Having enrollment as an easy job, he mentions about them having a tough culture to strictly follow public morals and traditions. On the other hand, Ren-ni claims to have some unexplained disturbances lately. These two reach closer to the school. As a dog owner slides across Odo, she wishes him good morning, which looks enough to knock some signposts nearby. Later, she teases Odo for making that guy run into a signpost when he clearly has eyes for her. Asking her if she feels the rising youth nearby, she describes this feeling as being an opening scene of an old drama. And honestly, this drama surely portrays this young age just like this. A sudden voice halts Sumureko-san in her walk, as Odo asks her if she could not try so much to be familiar with her. As she throws curveballs at the poor Sumureko-chan, a blonde girl, Nodoka far away, beside a dark-haired girl, Mary calls out to Odo, cheerfully runs to her, while wishing both of them a good day. Asking about the new girl, Sumureko is about to explain but swiftly interrupted by Odo's attempt to name her Wakazukuri-senpai. Hence, they strangely bow down and apologize for not recognizing her at all. As the school bell rings, they all run off to catch their class, while Oto makes it clear that she would never accept someone like Sumureko. Moreover, she asks her to stop charming her brother, while calling her a lonely apartment wife. With that, she sprints away to her class, leaving Sumureko utterly confused about herself even more now. Afterward, Sumureko learns the fact that a pile of students have failed to attend classes for rather strange reasons. Thus, Ren-ni believes this to be the work of none other than some curiosity. Remembering the plans set by Ren-ni as he leaves everything in Sumureko's hands, she enters the Kun Girls Academy. Stepping into the premises, she aims to scorch out the truth behind these peculiar disappearances and unexplained happenings. Later on, as some girl fixes another girl's ribbon bow, Sumureko's eyes lit up like a Christmas tree, beaming from ear to ear, while her jaw dangles on the floor. As Sumureko is in the clouds, Odo complains to her angels for putting her in this mess. While she pulls Sumureko from their sight and snatches her right back, this small packet is suddenly interrupted. At the same time, she wishes a good day to Uname-sensei. Seeing Odo do hard work in pushing Sumureko away, Uname quickly gets Sumureko's attention, asking her name. However, Odo answers this question as she calls her Wakazukuri-senpai and quickly snatches her away from the crowd. Later on, she pushes the apartment wife all through the corridor and asks her to stay in the bathroom until school. After a few hours, she went to the restroom where she left Sumureko curled up over the commode. Upon nudging her, Sumureko bursts her emotions unwillingly. Furthermore, she mentions that she planned a whole day, with all she asked was for some chit-chat with beautiful middle and high schoolers. If so, she asks why she spent all day in a bathroom locked like this. Ignoring her rants, Odo hands over a climate mate block. She sobs before her, complaining about how she is eating alone in an all-girls school. Thus, Odo makes it clear that it ain't happening ever. But she calls out to Odo's attention suddenly, while asking where she is going. Standing on, Odo explains about the place where they could handpick her symptoms. To her surprise, Odo claims there is something wrong in this area, but Sumureko refuses to notice anything peculiar here. Seeing her dumped down, Sumureko quickly exclaims loving these kinds of stories, but Odo complains about having no trace of existence in front of them or feeling anything wrong. Not to mention, this girl talks about markers, with Ren-ni's way of convenience. Connecting the dots, Sumureko figures that one of these markers was always there to begin with if there was some sort of curiosity existing before. When she is busy pondering hard over this analysis, Odo is speechless with surprise as she turns slightly pink, seeing how she believed her. Finding her adorably cute, Sumureko decides to try believing her, pointing out the fact that she is afraid of the mark, not to mention the trembling finger she pointed at the marker. But even then, Sumureko explains how Odo courageously explained to her. Strolling outside, she asks Odo about the first time spotting a marker here, as Odo answers that since a month ago. All of a sudden, a girl jumps a mile high, spotting red-faced Odo and some mysterious woman coming out of the bathroom together. Boiling up enough to shoot away like a rocket, Tama believes this huge stuff is going to shake up the whole school. But the other girl shuts her gossip tabloid down, while another one mentions Tama being rude to their senpai. Thus, they apologize to Wakazukuri-senpai quickly, while the blonde asks Odo if she is her sweetheart. Moreover, she demands Odo to introduce this senpai to them all. Later, they all are sitting in a circle, where the special guest is in their first year in high school. A round of applause. A secret smile, as warm as sunshine, loomed across her face, and beaming her eyes, once a flickering ember, as this is what she longed for. However, the red-faced girl, Tama, complains to Mary about her monopolizing Odo, which is clearly against the law. She argues about how it is rightful for her to have Odo as well, but Odo claims Mary's lap is much better. This bawled her eyes out. She went down in a heap, sobbing uncontrollably. Aside from that, she asks everyone if they heard the recent rumor. Upon asking, Tama mentions Akemi-chan and Mika-san from Class 3 kissed, and rekindled some spark. But the other girl asks if Akemi isn't dating Hitomi. Gossiping about a boiled-up affair, the green-headed girl believes this could shake the school order in disarray. And honestly, these girls are so open to talk about how Akemi is more of a lewd type, into big melons. Thus, they complain about not getting their melons checked out, while blonde claim of getting hugged plenty. Suddenly, the spotlight takes a turn to Sumureko, as the bead of sweat rolls down her cheek. Someone asks if she has made out with someone while having a lot of experience in her first year of high school. Asking about her most sensual moment, this bunch of girls are excited to get some steamy stories out of her. Smacking the table, she flaunts about how she ripped every man and tossed them aside. Leaving everyone speechless, they believe high school students to be this high, as if they drink from Aladdin's lamp. Upon asking her enthusiastic self to jump a mile high for no reason, she blurts out that there is never anything interesting going on. Such a peaceful environment with no bullying at all, she cries out on having less spicy material enough to make it all boring. Although she actually looks rather creepy to be this peaceful. On the other hand, even Sumureko figures this to be rather odd not to have any bullying among this many students. However, she raises awareness about how plenty of students have failed to attend the school these past few days. Though brushing her hair carelessly, Tama-chan asks if she means the dribblers. Noting it down, she finds this word, dribblers, a strange occurrence in this school. Moreover, she notes down about this phenomenon where a student's body grows hotter as if burning on a stove, until they collapse. Turns out, this makes them drool excessively after the fall while hearing how it strikes randomly. Needless to say, there has been no attempt to induce any effective treatment, but going home makes this all go away. While the symptoms return to school, the students fail to attend in fear of relapse. Later, Unnamed takes away Sumikiro just for asking if she was getting bullied. Sobbing like a 3-year-old, she expresses how it's been cruel being an unfitting piece to these young faces. Appalled to see this, she apologized instantly for jumping straight to conclusions after seeing her forced down by their arms. Suddenly, Unnamed asks if she has any peculiar goals or dreams. Hence, Sumikiro shares about being a known novelist someday, as the sun sets beautifully, coloring the sky red with a goodbye. She explains how she would want to hit up the mark to become a real page-turner writer. A high-pitched exciting yelp startles Sumikiro, as Unnamed expresses how incredible this all sounds. Thus, she wishes to look forward to reading Sumikiro's first novel. As she is cheerfully walking out of the corridor, she is ambushed by the juniors for the leftover steamy hot stories. All of a sudden, 2 girls vomit while collapsing on the floor like lifeless bodies as Nodoka passes a blood-curdling shriek. Seeing the danger zone, Sumikiro takes charge faster than a hummingbird on Red Bull. Taking the lead in this situation, she barked at the girls to call for an ambulance and teachers. Their faces look pale as if the vampires have just had them for dinner. While Odo stands, trembling like a scaredy cat statue, a finger frozen in mid-accusation while pointing at the markers. Creeping out of the shadows like a guilty gremlin, Unnamed, after licking it all, rolls up to the wall, saying that she warned that bullying is wrong. Unnamed narrates that when she lost her mom and dad, her granny took her in. She held onto her bag as tight as she could, as it was all that she had in the world. Her leftover inventory, or else she loses the game noob. Her granny, Tai, hugged her, and ever since that, she has loved her very much. Even though her granny could not give her the luxuries of the world, those were her days full of peace. Unnamed's clothes were mostly made by Tai or bought from sale. Due to that, other kids used to make fun of her. They tease her over the fact that she always wears the same clothes. One day, her teacher asked her to bring cleaning clothes to school. Back at home, Tai made plenty of clothes for cleaning so she could also share with other children. The next day, she takes that to her school. One of the kids forgot to bring a rag and she lent one of her clothes. A boy makes fun of her because it is the same kind of clothes that she also wears. A pick-me girl follows along and says that she has been wearing rags this whole time. The boy Anane lent the cloth to says that it smells weird too, like old people, and he throws it back to her. They all begin to make fun of her, and she has tears in her eyes as she asks back for all the pieces of clothes. She screams, and the scene shifts to the principal's office. The teacher called Tai to report that Uname got into a fight and the kid's parents were very angry. So the teacher asks Uname to say sorry to the students as soon as she can to calm down the situation. But Tai says that Uname would never get violent without a good reason. Well, the teacher gets angry at Tai and says that there is no problem with the way she manages her class, and she blames Uname entirely. Coming back to the present day, Ren says to Suma that she did great work. She says that she did not ask him for his opinion, but she wants to know what happened to her clothes. He tells her that he sent the clothes off to be cleaned along with her uniform. Then he asks if she was able to guess anything after seeing the dribbles in person. She says that whoever says that it is a disease has to get an eye checkup. So Sumi says that when the teachers took them outside, all three of them got their consciousness back. Then she says that Ten seems to be in a good mood. Ren says that he sure is after all. He found one more curiosity, and it won't go away. Then he asks Odo if she saw markers appear when they fell down, and she says yes she did, but she could not do anything. He smiles and says that it is okay, and that as long as she is fine, that is all that matters to him. Shuma says to be a little worried for her too, and he says he got worried for her too, but Odo comes first. Then Ren gets up and begins to walk away, while he says that it is now safe to say that there is a curiosity at that school, and they need to get it as soon as they can. He talks about yukai. Yukai are split into true mysteries and false mysteries. False ones are fiction born of thoughts like fear or some wrong idea. On the other hand, true ones are a sign of a real and rare thing. True mysteries are also split into genuine and reputed. Rare things that can be verified in some way are reputed mysteries, and truly rare things that even science can't explain are genuine mysteries. Suma says that Enryo's definition of genuine mystery applies to all laws of nature, and in a way is the exact opposite of curiosities. Ren says that it is just the sort of a romantic interpretation a philosopher would make, but he does not think like Enryo. He defines genuine in a more literal way. He also has an idea of what it could be. Suma sighs and says that in her case, her girl's school infiltration mission has come to an end. Well, as she says that, her poor jacket could not hold her huge melons and unzips. Ren says that he will once again need her to go to school again. He pats Odo's head while he says to her that she wants to save her friends, so he asks her to have faith in him. The next day, some students say hello to Uname. She tells them to have a great day and go back home. Then she goes to the restroom and sees a girl being bullied and gets locked up in a stall. The bullies even got spikes up on the door so the girl could not get out of the stall. But as Uname sees that, she quickly gets the girl out of the stall. Then the girl, with a very sad yet troubled look on her face, says that she did not want to admit it, but yes, she is one of the victims of the bullies. But she also thought that telling someone would not really be bullying then. Other than that, Uname could not do anything. That is what the girl thought. Uname sighs and says that this won't work at all. Targeting the perpetrators is just not it, and she needs to now change her approach. She sits down and says that she will issue the girl leave because she might need time off from school. Suddenly, she sees the shadow shrink, and she gets scared, but it was Ren behind her who pulls her through her sweater. Well, the way she was bullied, that could be her kink. He sits down with her and says that from now on she does not have to lick the floor. She looks at him and asks who they are. He smiles and says that he is the guardian of the students here, and the girl who pretended to be a student is a curvy woman with caterpillar brows, Sumi. Unnamed is shaken and asks Suma if she was the student from earlier. But that now does not even matter because Unnamed is the dribbler. Rin gets up and says that most of the time in fake stories, it is seen that a monster wants to kill and eat innocent people. He says after giving a whole lot of examples, thinking he is relevant, that when he talked to the gossip queen of the school, she said that she thinks a lot of them were students who got into fights and stuff. And given that, he made a very rough theory that someone was borrowing the power of Oshi Oni to end the culture of being bullies. That is why they set a trap for her to catch her through Sumi. Well, whatever comes through throws me off completely because that is what I least expected from the detective. He pushes down Unam on the ground and begins to sniff her pits. She gets weirded out and tells him to stop while her eyes have tears in them. By being the sniff master he is, he sees what the problem is, the hair ornament that she had in braid. He says to her that he will take it right off her hair and everything will be solved. But her eyes brighten up and she gets up in her defense. With her head she bumps into Ren's cheek and he falls down. Suma says that he is much weaker than what she thought of him as. Anain sits right up and says to Suma that why would she get in her teacher's way. Sumi feels the tension in the air and tells her to calm down. Further, Sumi says that she wants the bullying to end. But what is the point if her own students end up being hurt? I mean, that is the whole point. Suma says to her to give her the hair ornament kindly, because if she works with her students over time, she can bring this to an end. Anain listens to her and bites the hair ornament out of her hair and hands it over to Suma while she says, to get rid of the bullying is not as easy as they think. She is right, because the kids who are being bullied can't just sit and wait for their rescue while they take so much damage to their mental states. But that was just a trap set up for Sumi. Anain gets closer to Suma and licks her cheek while Ren tries to stop her. Anain feels immense pain as she is being burned, and Ren takes Anain and runs out of there. Later, he calms her down by saying something in her ear. They were sitting in a classroom as they both got burns on their bodies. He keeps her down and tells her to stay there and he will see Anain outside. Anain is seen to have horns on her head as she walks to the place they both are at. Ren smiles and says to Sumi to take care of herself and Oto in case he does not make it back. Coming back to a past memory of Anain, Tai takes her to a forest and says sorry to her for having just one family member. Her eyes tear up and she holds Tai and begins to cry very loud. Then Tai asks her to give her hand out to her, and she gives her an amulet that has been passed down to her from her family. She says that it will protect her no matter what. Coming back to the present, Anain thinks that the bullying she had to go through also made Tai a target as well because adults also bully in the same way. So now she will make a world without bullies. Ren opens the door and sees Anain. He says that he has quelled the fire by the inverse phrases of Oshimirobi. Stones drift, leaves sink. Folklore says that repeating inverse phrases is one method of counteracting an Oshioni. Anain yells that she only did it because Sumi tried to take her amulet that Tai gave to her. Ren says that the amulet she is talking about is nothing but a curse. He tells her that it is a relic known as Ushinatama, and the amulet is a piece of it. Her ancestors must be from a family whose totem was Ushioni, but as the family passed, the teachings faded too, and now it is seen just as an amulet to protect. It is very much likely that her name was changed to Uname to keep up with the homophone of it. Ren further says that her real name would be written with the characters for female cow, also read as a name. She is unable to have faith in it, but Ren tells her that curses always come home to roost. He says that the limbic system, which takes care of their instincts, has no idea of subject. So when they feel any negative emotion towards others, their brains can't figure out the difference between them and themselves. So cursing others puts a curse on ourselves too. Ren says that the old saying is right. When you curse others, then dig 2 graves. He walks to her and says that he begs her to give her that because he needs to send his little sister back home. But Anain steps back and is not willing to give it back, as she knows that she can create a world without bullying in it with the amulet. Anain resists and says that she does not care whatever happens to her as long as she can do that. Ren says that he does not even allow friends to have fun with each other. Is that really a world she wants? She holds him by his collar and says that bullies cover up by saying that they were just having fun. Ren says that he sees that they can't resolve this with peace, and that is a shame. He opens his eyes finally and says that he can't leave her with her devices on her own. He looks at her and her mouth starts to water in a weird way and she can't balance herself anymore. Seeing her, Ren sits down as she sits on the ground too, and says that it is the truth, that he approves of her convictions and she is a kind person too. He says further that back then, if someone like her would be with them, then maybe his sister and him would not have ended up like that. He can't get the thought out of his head about the people who are made to feel out of this world. Anain begins to remember the time of her past and her intoxicated tears begin to fall down from her eyes as she feels the sensation of being burned. Her clothes burn and she lies down on the floor, naked. Well, who knew a kind teacher would be that hot and crazy from the inside? As Ren was about to fall, Sumi held him and asked if Anain would be okay. He says that it is karma. If she killed anyone through that, then she won't live too and will die. Suma sighs and says that Yunain is not the kind that would kill anyone. All her wounds are gone now, so she asks what is going on. He says that the curse of youth is similar to shape memory, and she will recover from a certain level of injury. Suma looks at her hand and says that she is turning into a monster more and more as the days pass and finds it so freaky and weird. But that does not concern him, so Ren asks why she did not run away from the spot to have herself saved. Suma says to him why she would even leave him alone, and he totally underestimates her. After all, if she is a novelist, how could she leave without knowing the ending of it? That would just leave her very curious. He says that she looks like a gacha game who has taken a lot of damage, and that is when Odo comes too. She pushes off Suma to see her brother. Ren says sorry to Odo because the only option he had was to see, and he had nothing else that could stop Anane from what she had in her mind. Now the amulet is empty and has nothing in it, no curse, no blessing. It is as empty as my pockets and my wallet and my bank balance. Odo says that he is more important than a ticket, so she tells him not to push himself too hard. Then the school bell rings and Sumi hears that, to which she says that they should also head back because now it is time for students to leave too. Later on, Anane is at the hospital bed because she suffered a great deal of wounds too, and her students came to see her. Anane had her empty amulet in her hand. The students asked how she is now, and she says that she has been okay, and asks how they are now. Ren is outside the building as he stands with Sumi, and he says that the dribbler's case has been closed now because it is solved. Ren himself is pretty wounded up. Then he thanks Sumi for her efforts and tells her that it was just not any Ushioni, but something way more dangerous than what he actually thought of it as. So she asks what it actually was, and he tells her that it was the Chinrinki. It was a fierce god with 8 heads, winged and red in color. He says further that when the Yamato court defeated the Chinrinki, fragments of it became Ushioni. That is what people say, in other words, a very much of a rumor. He yaps more than my girlfriend, not gonna lie. Anyhow, he says further that the teacher must have been the source of making the true power of the curse weak by reciting inverse phrases. That is why he misread the cause of the incidents. But that is all just speculation. That is what he says to Suma. Further, he says that the teacher's powers, the curiosity in question, both have been lost now. Meanwhile, a girl with brown hair and glasses in a wheelchair knocks on a room as the scene cuts. Later, Ren reads a book that says, by following the steps of the boy who always moved forward, the fox senses the cold air of the deep woods on its whiskers and continues to wander. The human boy, too, continues to walk with no destination. They will both return to this place one day in a cycle that never ends. For a spirit, the fox calls out, I have already lived for 100 years, and now I would like to rest soon. So may I give this life of mine to the boy. The branches all around shook. Then Odo stops him and asks if the apartment wife wrote this book. He says yes, she wrote this book, which gives a weird look on Odo's face. Then Odo falls asleep, and Ren keeps the book beside her and smiles at his sister as she drifts off to sleep. It is a normal day at work where MC and Ogawa are working together as usual. Nothing crazy is happening right now, and the work is going fine for now. This is usually the way it is, and it does get a little boring here and there, so MC does some random things to keep himself and Ogawa entertained. As they are working now, MC starts mimicking a cuckoo, and he does it pretty well. It looks as if he practices a cuckoo's voice. It is very surprising for Ogawa, but also very random at the same time. She is curious and asks him why the hell is he now trying to be a cuckoo. He tells her a random fact about cuckoos. He tells her that in Europe, the number of times a person hears a cuckoo crying is the number of years left in that person's wedding. Ogawa is pretty intrigued by this and excitingly tells MC that she has heard it a full 3 times, which means she is going to get married in 3 years. Hearing this, MC makes a cuckoo sound teasing Ogawa by adding up the number of years to her wedding. Ogawa asks him why the hell is he making her wedding late crying a cuckoo cried, but he just laughs it off. He lets her know though about Anem and that she is going to be working now, which just takes Ogawa by surprise. She does hope that Anem does her job well wherever she works. As they are talking, a lady walks in and walks up to the counter. Coming near to the counter, she trips and falls accidentally to the ground. Ogawa asks if she is alright, only to notice that it is Anem. Anem came here looking for MC and is happy to see that he does work here. She tells him that she is happy finding him here and that she has something to say to him. Anem kneels and apologizes for what she did. She hates the fact that she got MC and Ogawa in a lot of trouble, and if it wasn't for them, she would have done something she could not take back. She intends to repay sometime in the future, but for now, she has some good news to tell them. She tells them that she is going to be working from now on with all her heart so she can be an independent person as well. She wants to work on herself so she can fight off bullying herself, not with the help of an amulet. This took MC and Ogawa by surprise, but they bid her good luck. After she leaves, MC asks Ogawa if she has time tomorrow or not. She does not, as she plans to work on her novel and finish it. We see Odo outside by the plant. She is looking at the plant with concentration and is hoping for something to happen. Out of nowhere, we see her scream into the sky for a second and the plant starts sprouting. She does it again and again, and the plant keeps sprouting little by little. Well, this is one way of growing plants. MC comes out only to find Odo doing what she is doing. She is surprised to see him. MC plays with her and teases her, on which Odo starts slapping MC. It hurts him, and to see him in pain, Odo tells him that he should have the old man take a look at his bruises. MC is not intending to do that. MC plans something in his mind and lets Odo know that she should go and get ready for a sleepover. The next day, we see Ogawa in her apartment, and she is working on her novel as she planned. She is getting distracted by random things, and she cannot get her focus to stay on the novel. This is getting frustrating for her when she picks up her binoculars and looks out the window. She notices that it is the time of the year for sakura viewing, and that is what she should do as well while working. She plans to get up and go get herself a beer from the convenience store so she can drink it while viewing sakura. She puts on her jacket and leaves her apartment. We see a black cat right outside her apartment, which does not look very normal for some reason. She gets everything she needs and gets back from the store. She notices the cat as well, and coming back, she notices the cat is still there. She thinks to herself if this is a stray cat or a pet, but she ignores it and goes in. The cat goes into the apartment with her as well without Ogawa knowing. As she is working, Ogawa loves the feeling of working while having a beer and a sakura viewing session. She is working and eating as well, so she gets back to her food only to notice the cat has eaten almost all of it without her seeing. She gets upset but controls herself to get back to her sakura viewing and novel writing stuff. After some time, she is pooped out because of the alcohol and a lot of work. As she is sleeping, she gets a text message from MC. MC asks her what she is doing and that he needs a favor from her. Ogawa thinks maybe he needs some money, so she tells him clearly that she is not going to lend him some money if that is the favor he is hoping to get. MC comes back at her saying that he would not ask her for money considering the type of cheap beer she is drinking right now. She is low on cash as well. This tells her that MC is maybe watching him and asks him. He tells her that she should not focus on that, but on the favor he is going to ask her. He tells her that he is going to be away for some days because of some affairs, and so Odo is coming to stay with her until he comes back. Ogawa is not ready for this, and she tries telling him, but before she can, Odo is outside her apartment. He tells her to attend her front door and let Odo in. She goes outside and finds Odo standing here already. She lets her in and gives her a cup of tea. Odo takes a look around the place, and it is filthy to her standards. Ogawa tells Odo to feel at home and asks if she needs anything. Also, she asks Odo where her brother went and when is he coming back. She lets Ogawa know that MC was injured in the Ushi incident, so he went out of the city to get himself treated. There is no saying when is he going to come back. Ogawa asks Odo another question, but Odo does not feel comfortable getting asked these questions. Ogawa notices this and tells her that she is not going to pry any further. Ogawa gets up to get some stuff and lets her know again to feel at home, but Odo does not like it here. She tells her being so straightforward that this place is filthy and she does not like it there because this place is not clean. Ogawa finds her being this straightforward not so great, but she knows that Odo is speaking facts. She tells Odo that they are going to clean up the place now and there is no saying otherwise. Odo dug herself a grave saying that the place is filthy and now she is going to have to help Ogawa clean it. Anyways, they start cleaning. The place was not clean for so long, so it took them some time to clean it whole. After they are done, Ogawa takes a look around and finds it pretty weird that after all the cleaning, the place still looks like before for some reason. Odo gets really angry about this, but everything is fine. Ogawa thanks Odo for helping and asks her if she has any underwear and towels with her. She does not, and so Ogawa tells her that she is going to lend her hers so they can go and freshen up. They leave the apartment and head for the public bathroom so they can freshen up here. As they walk into the public bathroom, we see Mari around the corner and notice Ogawa with Odo. She knows Odo, and she also remembers the older lady with her from somewhere for sure. Anyways, Ogawa and Odo go in the bathroom and get changed for a nice bath. They bathe themselves, and as Odo is cleansing herself, Ogawa tells her that it is time to head for the bathtub. In the bathtub, they are enjoying the nice and warm feeling when Odo asks Ogawa why they came here for a bath when there is a perfectly fine bathtub in her apartment bathroom as well. Ogawa lets her know that the bathtub at her place is pretty small for 2 people. Even when she is herself, she can barely fit in. That is no longer any concern though, as she can change herself to a smaller size that can fit in perfectly in that tub. As she is talking, Odo takes a look at her huge melons and gets jealous. Anyways, they take their time in the bathtub and get out. As they are out from the bath, Ogawa is sitting in her own thoughts when Odo looks at her melons again. She looks at Ogawa's and then hers only to get more jealous. She gets so angry at this that she slaps Ogawa's melon in sheer fury. They get outside and we see Odo drying herself while Ogawa is aiding her chest because of Odo's slap. She tells Odo that it is still hurting where she slapped her, but Odo is busy drying herself. Odo takes a look at the drinks collection and tells her that she would buy these for her to let her stay here, but she does not have any money on her right now, so she cannot. Ogawa tells her that she can buy these for her though, as she does have some money right now. She asks her if she would like to drink hot coffee after this nice bath. Odo is down and so Ogawa buys 2 hot coffees for them to have. They get down there, but Odo, being the way she is, says that this is not that good. Ogawa tells her to not be like this when she is being treated. Anyways, now Ogawa is hungry and feels like they should eat outside somewhere. She asks Odo what she wants to eat so they can plan to go someplace nice. Odo likes ramen, so she would love to get some right now. Ogawa was surprised and so they went someplace nice to get some ramen. As they leave, we see Mari once again peeking on Odo and Ogawa. She thinks to herself that Odo's underwear is going to be in her bag and that this older woman who she has seen somewhere but can't quite place has her older woman's underwear in her bags as well. Mary is a sick freak, and she would kill to see some older woman's underwear. As she is dwelling on these thoughts, the receptionist comes out only to find Mary here. She tells Mary that she is going someplace, so she has to be at the front desk in her place for now. We see MC in someplace, and he is wandering around trying to find someone. He is walking around and he comes across an intersection where he is all alone by himself. We see an older guy scream at him that this place is not meant to be for someone to just come, so he should leave here immediately. MC remembers this guy as he is the one he was trying to find. This is the old guy Odo was talking about. MC notices him, but the old guy does not remember him right away. MC goes to him calling his name, but the old guy shuts him the hell up, saying he cannot say his name out loud like that. The old guy is surprised to see him here and tells him to go back home immediately as this place is not meant for people. MC teases him, saying that maybe he does not want the gift he brought him them. The old guy caves and offers MC to stay for as long as he wants. MC brought him cigarettes as he loves those. As he drags out these, he tells MC to bring him some cigars and whiskey the next time he comes here. The old guy tells MC all the things he has to offer. He has family insurance and all kinds of illegal stuff. MC can have anything he wants, and the old guy wants to know what is it going to be. The old guy notices MC and his eyes, only to gather that he has used up his eyes completely. He shares his concerns and asks MC if that is the case or not. MC tells him that he did use up all of his eyes, but he had to. The old guy reminds MC that he has to keep his eyes for as long as possible, as if he does not have them, he has pretty short to live, and that time would not be enough to send his sister back. MC knows this, but he has to use them to save his sister. The old guy understands and decides to check his eyes. He goes closer to MC and opens up his eyes only to find gruesome blackish red pupils staring at him. He cannot look at them for much longer and gives up. Am I the only one who is completely clueless about this eye thing? We get back to Ogawa and Oto. They are in a fine restaurant and have some ramen. Oto is enjoying her ramen when Ogawa starts asking her some questions. Ogawa asks Oto where she came from. Oto has no idea how to answer this question, so she asks the same question to Ogawa. Ogawa tells her that she came here from her parents' house. Oto answers the question pointing up at the ceiling, saying that she came from there, but Ogawa doesn't get it. Ogawa asks Oto if she has any other family aside from MC. She asks the same to Ogawa, and she lets Oto know that she has her parents. Oto responds the same. Ogawa keeps asking questions and now asks her what MC meant by sending his sister back. Oto does not respond to this question and just stays silent. Ogawa notices the silence and knows that she rubs her the wrong way just now. Oto asks Ogawa if she can get another serving of the ramen or not. They get their dinner and get back. We see MC and the old guy in the same place. MC's red eyes are haunting and scary as hell, but the old guy knows that this place is going to work out for him. He tells MC that this place is going to have all the curiosities he would need. He starts explaining how this place is a completely new neighborhood, and these kinds of places have everything except one thing, a god. These new places have all of the new things to offer, so this is going to be fine for MC. The old guy looks at MC again and tells him that he has to get himself treated, otherwise his sister is going to hate him because of these scary eyes. Back home, Ogawa is working again while Oto is sitting on the bed behind her reading Ogawa's book. She closes the book and puts it on the table. Ogawa tells her that she can use this bed whenever she feels like sleeping. Oto asks Ogawa about this book because she knows this book is written by her. Ogawa tells her that she wrote this book when she was 15, and this is the only published book of hers. Oto is surprised knowing she wrote this when she was 15, as Oto herself is 15 now. Oto lays on the bed and sleeps in a literal second. Ogawa notices this only to be surprised seeing how fast she falls asleep. She gets up and gets a blanket from the cupboard, putting it on Oto. Ogawa looks at Oto in full curiosity and wonders where she and her brother come from and who are they. At night, Oto has a dream where she is walking and suddenly a black purplish portal opens up with MC coming to get her. Waking up the next day, she takes a look around and Ogawa is not around. She finds a small snack on the table for her by Ogawa. Oto is looking at this snack when Ogawa comes in with bags in her hand. Oto tells Ogawa that she has to go to school, so she would need to eat a little more than this for now. Ogawa plays with her before telling her that she brought breakfast for both of them to have. Oto gives her breakfast and both of them start getting ready for school. Ogawa is doing her thing while Oto is getting ready. She changes and puts on her school uniform while Ogawa is in the restroom. After getting ready, Oto goes to the restroom and knocks, telling Ogawa that she needs to use the restroom for now. Ogawa comes outside and lets her go in. Oto sits on the toilet, thinking about some things she has going on in her head. Shizuku is drinking soda in front of a mart and her friend Tomoko tells her that she is going to head home. She gets dull and tells Tomoko that they should stay out for a little longer and enjoy the time. Tomoko tells her that she needs to wake up early for the beautician audition the next day. She is excited about it, and Shikuku tells her that she is glad for her. Tomoko gives all the credit to her and tells her that it is all because of her support. Shizuku gives her friend an umbrella as a gift and says that it is going to rain. The rain starts and Tomoko tells her that she wants to cut her hair. Shizuku smiles and promises her for another day. After that, Tomoko leaves and Shizuku is alone. On the next day, Okchan and Wakazukuri go to school together. Wakazukuri is excited because she is going to see beautiful and stunning ladies in the school. Got the priorities straight. Both of them meet Nodoka on their way and they decide to walk together. In the school, Okchan goes to her class and Wakazukuri goes to the washroom and starts using her laptop in the toilet. Weebs would do anything but study. She decides to bunk all her classes and her alarm rings when the break time starts. Wakazukuri has her lunch and she sees Nodoka sitting next to her on the other bench. She tries to meet her, but Nodoka is busy as she listens to music, so Wakazukuri goes away. After some time, Okchan comes to meet Wakazukuri and they meet other girls too. The girls take them to the roof and prepare snacks for them. Okchan takes the boba tea and Tamao tells her to sit on her lap. That was straight to the business. Okchan hesitates, but when she knows that Tamao brought the tea for her, she sits on her lap. Erika tells the other girls that she saw Murray wearing erotic underwear. They all get curious and Nodoka casually shows her underwear. Time to get excited, fellas. The girls ask Okchan about what kind of underwear she wears. Okchan innocently tells them that she wears underwear made of clothes. No shit, Sherlock. The girls started to laugh because they were expecting it. Wakazukuri gets overwhelmed when she imagines Murray in erotic underwear. Later, everyone goes home, and Okchan meets Sumiriko and goes to the bathhouse with her. On their way, Sumiriko remembers that the bathhouse is owned by Mary's family. Okchan and Sumiriko meet a name on their way. All three of them go inside the bathhouse, and Mary gets excited to see them. Mari notices that she met Sumiriko before elsewhere, and her figure builds passion inside her. Sumiriko registers for 3 adults at the bathhouse, and Mary starts thinking that Sumiriko might be the oldest woman she has seen. Anane tells Mary that Sumiriko works at the bookstore near the railway station. Mari remembers that she saw Sumiriko at the Midori book station. When Mari found out that she was going to see Okchan, Sumiriko, and Anane undressed at once, her heart started bouncing. She found out that it was really titillating and her whole focus was on them. Sumeriko and Yuname start talking with each other, and Mary keeps waiting for them to take off their clothes. In the end, she gets irritated and shouts at them to take off their clothes fast. Sumeriko does not hear her, and she takes off her clothes anyway. Suddenly, Mary's mother comes and tells her daughter that she is going to hold the desk so that she can go home. Mari gets irritated. She tells her mother that it is the most important part of her life and says that she doesn't want to leave the desk for the moment. Mary's mother is curious because of her daughter's behavior, and in the meantime, Sumeriko and others go to the bath. Mari gets irritated and starts regretting because she missed the most glorious moment of her life. Okin went to the bath early, and Mari even failed to keep her focus on the other two. Her life's happiness is hanging on at that moment, and there is nothing left except for regrets. After taking a bath, all three of them tie towels around their bodies and drink juice for refreshment. Sumeriko sits on the massage chair and she gets relaxed after that. Okin faces the fan to soak all the water, and Yuname asks Sumeriko if she is going to look after Odo-san again. Sumeriko tells her that it is only because her brother asked her for it too. Yuname gets excited and she asks Sumeriko if she wants to come and sleep over at her place. She also offers her dinner too. Sumeriko is nervous because she doesn't want Yuname to go through trouble because of her. Yuname is still motivated and she tells Sumeriko that it is her duty as a teacher to look after. Sumeriko asks Akshin about her opinion, but Yuname offers Akshin snacks, and she agrees to sleep over at the house instantly. Okshan's love for snacks is unmatchable, and she would do anything for it. After leaving the bathhouse, all three of them go to Yuname's house, and Akshin starts eating cookies. Sumeriko gets dull because she thinks it's childish for Akshin to love snacks at such a mature age. Yuname serves tea to Sumeriko and also gives many candies to Akshin. Sumeriko can feel a good aura in the room, and she tells Yuname that it's really good for another writer to live in. She also feels that she would enjoy writing a book in her room. Yuname is glad to hear that and thanks her. Sumeriko looks closely at the snacks on the table, and she tells her that her taste in snacks is like her grandmother's. Yuname isn't even sure about which snack she bought, but she's glad that Akshin is loving it. Yuname later goes to prepare dinner. Odo-chan sees that Yuname is happy and she thinks that it might be because she loves to cook. Yuname goes to the altar and pays respect to her mother after placing a rice bowl in front of her picture. Sumeriko and Odo-chan also come and they pay respect in front of her mother's picture. Oto leaves 2 candies as a gift in front of the altar. The dinner gets ready and Odo-chan gets really excited about it because she has been waiting to eat the food. But when she eats the food, it's all plain and she is disappointed. Sumeriko tastes the food and it is delicious. She likes it and also recommends it to Odo-chan. When Odo tastes it, she starts eating at full speed and gets happy again. After dinner, Sumeriko wants to leave, but the rain starts falling. Yuname tries to stop them, but Sumeriko isn't feeling well. Yuname tells them that she also prepared pudding for breakfast for them and forces them to stay. The rain gets heady, and the 3 of them go to sleep together. Odo falls asleep instantly, but Sumeriko is still awake. Yuname again thanks her for paying her respect, and she also falls asleep, but Sumeriko doesn't feel comfortable because it's a congested place. At midnight, Odo-chan wakes up and sees a shadow outside the door. Suddenly, someone from outside tries to open the door. Odo-chan panics and covers her mouth because she is going to shout loudly. After the shadow goes away, she opens the door and looks around, but no one is outside. Odo-chan suddenly sees wet footsteps walking on the floor and she gets afraid. She remembers that Ren promised to come back for her, and she starts running in the street during the rain. Shizuku confronts Odo-chan and attacks her, calling her a monster and attempting to kill her. Sumeriko comes and fights with Shizuku, telling her to stop because she is attacking a child. Shizuku keeps calling Odo-chan a monster and tells Sumeriko to stay out of it. Sumeriko transforms herself into a small girl, and Shizuku gets afraid. She shows him a video of Tomoko, who told Shizuku about a shadow that tried to open a door in the rain. Ever since then, Tomoko went missing, and Shizuku kept searching for her. A year passed, and no one believed Shizuku, but she was motivated to search for her friend and rescue her. Odo-chan is surprised to see that someone else is also looking to be united with their friend. Sumeriko calls Ren. He thanks her for taking good care of Odo-chan, and also tells her that he might have an idea about where Tomoko might be. That's why he decided to come back. A man tells Ren that his condition isn't well and he hasn't fully recovered. Ren tells him that he will try not to push himself, His eyes start bleeding, and he regrets not seeing the girls in the bath together. The man gets afraid of him and thinks that he is acting weird. At midnight, Sumerico leaves a note near Yuname's pillow and goes away because it isn't safe. She thanks Unane for the delicious food and apologizes for leaving without notice. Odo shows Sumi the entrance to the station and says that the new moon sets in the heart of blackness, being stained darker and darker. Further, Odo says that the arrow of the crescent moon shoots to the east, racing faster and faster. Then, the half moon sinks and for a moment it touches, growing rounder and rounder. Further, she says, chasing the shadow of the night of the full moon, around and around they go, and everything starts to turn dark, and the portal opens and Sumi follows Odo in the portal. They get united with Ren, and he thanks Sumi for taking care of Oto. But Ren seems sad about the fact that he could not go to the bathhouse with Sumi. He proposes the theory that if he takes a bath with a curvy woman, all his wounds will be healed, and he will be okay soon after that. He sounds like an average weeb trying to get with big honker's goth girl, but Sumi asks what he thinks about curiosity. Ren says that in June 2014 there was an incident in Hualien County in eastern Taiwan. The incident being, an 80-year-old woman went to the bathroom and she went poof. Nowhere to be found. The search went on, but they could not find out where she had gone. But after 4 days, she was found in a faraway cave safe. But it was a place which had to be reached after crossing a huge river. According to the older woman, a girl in red clothes brought her there. Shuma says that she has heard about a curiosity. It was called Little Girl in Red. It is a very famous urban legend in Taiwan. Then, Odo asks if that curiosity returns people it takes, and Ren says yes. Now, Odo wants to help Shizuka and wants to join the search, but Ren denies it as it can be a burden on her, to which she gets angry that he lets Sumi work but not her. Odo is not taking it and says that she will go find her without them, and Ren panics as his sister runs away. He really pulled a strict dad move and expected Odo to not sneak out. Then Sumi and Ren talk about how this story just got attention. But Ren says that he talked to an authority on this subject and found that new gods come to dwell in new places. Further, he says that the story of the little girl in red never included anything about knocking or raining. The next day, Odo is on a bench sitting alone, and Sumi gives her a water bottle and tells her that she will take her for the search with her. After that, Sumi takes her to Shizuka's workplace. Odo is surprised to see her workplace and her maid outfit too. Then, Shizuka takes them to the rooftop to talk because they can't talk here. After that, Shizuka asks what they want to know, to which Odo says that she wants to find Tomoko. Oto explains that her eye can trace left by curiosities, and by her eyes she can find Tomoko. Hearing the deal, Shizuka agrees to help and tells her everything she knows, and Sumi and Odo go off to search for her. They search all day long and work their asses off. By evening, there still are no leads and no ideas on what to do next, and Odo seems hopeless. Then Shizuka shows up and scares Odo. She lifts up Odo's skirt and passes a comment of something being white, leaving Odo shy. We all know what that is. After that, they all go to eat some ramen as Shizuka suggested. While they eat, Odo asks Shizuka what kind of friend Tomoko was, to which she says that they were roommates and really close friends, that they would even share a packet of ramen at times. Then, for further studies, Tomoko moved away and they were not much in contact. After telling Odo about Tomoko, Shizuka is kind of sad and then gets up to leave. But before she leaves, Sumi stops her and asks about the day and the month of the video taken. Later on, Sumi goes to the library and begins to connect the dots and try to extract the information, and they start to make sense somehow. On the other hand, Odo meets her friend after school and after a while bids her farewell. Then, Odo goes to the maid cafe where Shizuka was. Where Shizuka is in panic mode because she had less staff today, so she took Odo to help her all day in a maid outfit with a bribe of some treat, and Odo agreed to it. Going back to Ren, he gets a call from Sumi while he is washing up himself. He apologizes for being shirtless even though she can't see him. After that, Sumi tells him that she saw the cases of missing people, and the day Tomoko went missing. A woman's body was found, but it was not Tomoko. It was later confirmed that the woman's body was found near the landslide after a couple of days. But the thing is, a search request for that woman had been lodged half a year before that. So Sumi compiled a list of 3 years' worth of missing persons and arranged the timeline of cases and accidents that took place. When she did that, she realized the connection. The search requests, missing persons reports, and body discoveries overlapped in certain places that she noted down. Further, she says that on the days when missing persons went missing, the bodies of other missing persons were found. Sumi found 6 cases like that, and all of them happened on rainy days, and there is a possibility that there are other cases that she did not pass by her eyes too. So in simpler words, when someone disappears, another person is found. Ren says that it is like a bait and relay, and Sumi sighs and replies that there is only one conclusion that they can draw from this. On the other hand, Oto is serving in the restaurant and the customers find her cute because she stutters her words because she is sort of shy. Even if she is not working nicely, her cuteness is enough to keep the customers content. Coming back to Ren, he says that he found something regarding the knocking too, about the little girl in red while he wears his shirt. He tells Suma that at a certain university in Taiwan, there is a story about the little girl in red. When night falls, a young female spirit in red clothes invites people to play, and if anyone accepts her invitation, they end up losing their life. Further, he tells her that among variations of the story, there are cases where she knocks first, and this must be it. Other than that, it must be associated with rain because that is likely due to tales of spirits long said to abduct people near the water. Like Shugi, and there is a thing attached to it that they can't ignore. During all of that, Sumi is seen near water. Going back to Oto, the other maids appreciate her work because she actually did perform really nicely on her first day. Then they talk about Shizuka and Oto asks what kind of person Shizuka is while Shizuka hears it from outside. In summary, they think Shizuka is like a cat. She is kind and nice but uncomfortable around strangers and does not let her guard down easily. Shizuka enters the room and tells the maid to badmouth her somewhere she can't hear. Then she gives Oto the treat she promised, and she eats around 4 of them as she finds it very refreshing. Meanwhile, Ren tells Sumi to take care of Oto and not leave her alone. Back in the cafe, Shizuka sits down on the sofa in front of Oto and says sorry for being mean to her in the past, and says that she went out looking for Tomoko and people pretended to be worried for her, and she could see how people did not care about Tomoko deep down. With tears in her eyes, Oto wishes for Shizuka to be united with Tomoko soon because she knows the pain too where she and Ren had to find their way back to after being lost. Suddenly, Oto's phone rings and it is Sumi. She picks up the call and Sumi sounds very worried and asks her where she is. Oto tells her that she is with Shizuka at her maid cafe, and the doorknob begins to rattle and someone starts to knock on the door while it pours heavily outside. Shizuka says that this is the way to the roof, but Sumi tells Oto to not open the door, and she is getting there as soon as she can. Further, Shumin tells her that the little girl in red is no one other than Tomoko herself, leaving Shizuka and Oto completely shocked with the weird revelation. In elementary school, Tomoko was quite a popular girl, whereas Shizuku was shy and struggled with socializing, which made others wary of her. That must be relatable to you all. Anyway, that's why she hated Tomoko's guts in the beginning. People referred to Shizuku as a neglected child. Her mother used to throw her out of the house whenever her new husband came to meet her. At some point, Shizuku started spending most of the day outside. She used to play with cats in the evening, but being alone at night was very difficult for her. Hence, she used to spend time at her friend's house and eat food there. In the beginning, each household used to welcome her cheerfully. But after some time, her friend's parents started calling her shameless for coming back again and again. Even her classmates started avoiding her. Shizuku figured that it was better this way since they wouldn't find out about her situation. Back to the present, someone is knocking on Oto's door. Hence, Oto and Shizuku run from the apartment and come outside. Summariko meets them there and tells them to follow her. As they descend the stairs, they notice handprints outside the building. When they finally reach the bottom to go outside, they find the door closed. Suddenly, loud knocking erupts from the other side, coming from whoever is following them. With no other choice, they return to the apartment and close the door with chairs. Shizuku then asks them about what the hell is going on there. At this, Summariko informs her that the Hongyi Xiao Nu Hai is attacking whoever is answering its knocking. And unfortunately, Oto-chan has already answered it once. That's why she is getting targeted. Surprisingly, Shizuku angrily grabs the woman's collar and tells her that this is not what she is asking. She wants to know what the woman means by saying that it's Tomoko's doing. Hence, Summariko tells her that the current Hongyi Xiao Nu Hai is a chimera of several curiosities. Originally, it was a curiosity that simply took people into the mountains, but the story says that it combined with one of a ghost that haunts and kills those who answer its knocking. It also got mixed with tales of the Shugi, which drown those who approach the water, adding the element of rain. Ren informs Sumriko that they now have one more characteristic, and it's Taiseigai, aka Death Swap. So when a Shugi leads a human to its death, that Shugi can then leave this world, but the murdered human then becomes a new Shugi looking for a fresh victim. It's like a non-ending circle of life, hence the special swapping characteristic called Taiseigai is passed down in folklore across the continent. It's similar to the Shikanen Misaki in Japan, a group of 7 vengeful ghosts who always act together. When someone encounters them, they are killed and join their ranks. At one point, the oldest one can leave, so after these stories and the Hongyi Xiao Nu Hai were brought together, the result was a story about someone who goes out on rainy nights to knock on a door and tries to get someone to open it for them. Thus, it became a wandering curiosity. Sadly, Sumriko reveals that Tomoka is dead. Shizuku becomes quiet at this. Meanwhile, Oto is crying. Shizuku then opens the door to leave. At this, Sumriko warns her to leave the door open. But Shizuku ignores her and locks the door. Oto and Sumriko become worried for her. Meanwhile, Shizuki is changing her clothes and trying to accept the fact that Tomoka is no longer with her. Shizuku is not giving up on her friend and she decides to join her, even in the cruel world she is in. Hence, Shizuku stands in front of the door and sees Tomoka's shadow outside of it. Thus, Shizuku decides to open the door. Because back then Tomoko was the one who opened the door for her when she needed it the most. When they were kids, Tomoko found Shizuku outside her house in cold weather. Hence, the girl brings her inside the house and gives her warm clothes and food. This kind gesture won Shizuku's heart. So from that day, Tomoko was the only friend of Shizuku. Oto tells Shizuku that she is also her friend and she is not alone. At this, Shizuku says to the little girl that she is also a kind person. But back then, the girl made up her mind. She told herself that she would give the rest of her life to Tomoko. Thus, she opens the door and by doing this, she chooses her friendship over life. After opening the door, she sees a chair. Hence, she goes there and sits in it. After that, a girl comes behind her and cuts her hair from the back. Sadly, Shizuku is crying for her friend as she has been looking for her for a long time. But she wasn't able to find her. And here fate brings them back together in this cruel way. After a moment, Sumriko and Oto break the door and see Shizuku standing there. Shizuku looks at them and she happily tells them that she met her friend. After that, the girl transforms into water and then vanishes. Oto starts crying for her friend and she calls Ren in agony. Surprisingly, Ren is standing outside the building and he promises Oto that he will handle it. Oto senses him there and she runs outside to stop him from using his eyes. Both girls come outside and see that Ren is sitting beside Shizuku's body. Hence, Oto gets worried for him and asks him about his eyes. The boy reassures her that he hasn't used them. He shows her the test sheet and states that he used that instead. Boy knows the power of a scary test paper. Even a zombie will run away from it. Ren explains to them that there's an ancient curiosity overseas called the Mo Sin, aka demon child that carries people into the mountains. There are tales of its eyes, clothes, and hat being red. There is a popular ghost story in Japan called Toilet-Bound Hanako-san. So Hongyi Xiao Nu Hai is a combination of Mo Sinna and Hanako-san. Hence, the boy smartly used the characteristics of the combined curiosity to his advantage, which is to show it a test sheet with a score of 100. It's a famous method to drive Hanako-san away. Thus, the girls become impressed by the boy's smart thinking. After that, Ren informs them that Shizuku is not fine yet. The curiosity has only temporarily been held at bay. Hence, they go to the Kisaragi Station, which is a mysterious station that appears in urban legends. There, Sumriko shows him the scissors Shizuku was holding. The boy sniffs them and states that they are cursed objects. Suddenly, a voice tells them that if they are here to report a found item, then they can come inside. After that, the woman tells them that they can exchange Sumriko for a ticket. However, Ren tells her that he is not going to hand over his friend to her. Thus, the woman asks him that if that's the matter, then what will he be exchanging? At this, Ren shows the scissors and states that they will exchange them. Sadly, the woman informs them that in exchange for that object, they can't go as far as their desired destination. Ren agrees to it, but he states that the only one riding the train will be Hongyi Xiao Nu Hai. Thus, they get the ticket and Oto takes Shizuku to the station, where the train will arrive. Surprisingly, Shizuku wakes up and Oto informs her about what has happened and where they are. If they can make sure that only the Hongyi Xiao Nu Hai gets on the train, then Shizuku will be safe. While going to the train station, Odo tells Shizuku that when she was searching for Tomoko, everyone said the same thing, that Tomoko was always together with Shizuku. And because Tomoko left the scissors behind, they were able to get the train ticket. Odo tells Shizuku that Tomoko wants her to live. After some time, the train arrived. Hence, Odo tightly holds Shizuku and a red fire-like object comes out of the girl's body and gets inside the train. After that, the train leaves from there. This station was brought into existence in order to expel unneeded foreign bodies from this world. After some time, both girls meet Sumureko. However, Ren is missing from there. Hence, Odo goes outside to check. Meanwhile, Ren's eyes are bleeding blue from overworking his powers. Apparently, the boy is not a human, he is just a sham of a monster. The woman at the station asks the boy about how long he has not slept or eaten anything. However, the boy stays silent. The woman tells him that soon he will be worn down to nothing for his sister's sake, and then he will disappear. The boy doesn't care about his well-being, he just wants to take her sister home and bring her to the people who love her. Ren wants to prove that Odo is not a lost child. The exams are over and finally, the results are out. Everyone is in the crowd waiting to see what score they got. One of the top scorers is Nodoka, and she is being discussed as someone who always scores high, if not the highest. She has a reputation for being a very shiny and bright student who always takes her studies seriously. Also, she is famous because her father is the chairman of one of the biggest hospitals in the city. They know that success runs in the family, and she is bright because her dad has taught her well. Anyways, we see our gang heading out from the school. They are walking back when Tamao says that she is happy that the exams are finally over. Erika is not so happy because exams were pretty tough this time around. Mari, on the other hand, is glad that no one among them has to take makeup exams, and they all pass the exams with quite good scores. Nodoka is the highest one among them, and she is happy as she should be. She is walking ahead with Odo when she feels very great about all this. She is happy that they all took that group study session as it did help a lot. Tamao feels like they all should celebrate now that they have all cleared the exams, and they should be feeling good about it. Erika knows Tamao has all kinds of good plans in her mind. Odo speaks up saying that she loves Nodoka singing, and she would love to hear her sing again today. Nodoka could not be more happy about it and tells her that they should then just go to a karaoke and have fun there. Oto agrees and they all head to the nearby karaoke place. There, everyone is enjoying and vibing along with Nodoka as she sings her favorite song. Oto, on the other hand, is not so much engaging with all this, and she just keeps ordering food to keep herself busy and less bored. She keeps ordering good platters and sundaes to make herself happy while Nodoka is here giving her best performance. After all this, everyone goes home and Nodoka goes straight to the hospital where she wants to see her dad. She goes to the counter, asking about her dad when she gets to know that he is in a meeting. She hands her results to the receptionist, asking her to give them to her dad so he would know her results. After this, she goes home and upon entering, she sees her home tutor waiting for her. She is already at home as Nodoka has to study every day to be the best in her class. The teacher tells her to change her clothes so they can start. Nodoka gets to it and works hard trying to solve the problems her tutor hands her. The tutor praises her talent and how hard she works, saying that she is surely going to run the hospital after her father as everyone expects her to. The teacher leaves with this and Nodoka can be her real self now. She is frustrated about all this studying and trying to do what everyone expects her to do. She wants something new and something she loves doing. She has something she really wants to do, and she wants to pursue her dream, but her family and people around her stop her from doing so. She gets her tablet and starts watching the streamer she always does. The streamer is a virtual mermaid and she comes on stream answering people's questions live. Yoruman, the streamer, says on the stream that she is going to answer all of the questions so the viewers should ask. Nodoka takes this chance and asks her how she can do what she wants without caring about the pressures from her family. Luckily, Yoruman sees this question and answers, saying that she should just follow her dream as she did as well. She was in the same boat as her, but she just went through with this, and look where she is now. Nodoka gets a really good boost in her motivation, and she stays up all night watching Yoruman's stream. The next day, she is napping in gym class when Amana comes to wake her up. She asks why she stayed up all night last night when Nodoka tells her about the streamers she watches. Amana tells her that she is always in a good mood after she stays up late at night for some reason. Amana tells her that she has to take care of herself and that it is good that she has something that makes her happy, but she has to be careful about staying up late as it is not okay for her health. Nodoka tells her that it is fine as she gets a lot of information about life and so on. Amane gets up and tells her that she was just worried about her, and as her teacher, she wanted to make sure she was okay. She tells Nodoka that her parents are very successful, so there is a lot of pressure on her, but it is good that she is trying to follow her dreams. Nodoka leaves, and Amane thinks about this Yoruman and how she has heard this name recently. Turns out there's a popular news story about this streamer retiring today, and Nodoka just saw it. She was on her way to her class when she saw this news, and she could not believe her eyes. She somehow spends the day in her school and goes back home. The tutor is waiting for her, and they start their studies when the tutor notices that Nodoka is lacking focus today. The tutor tells her that they should stop it for today and reminds her that everyone has a lot of expectations from her because of her parents, and she cannot be lacking focus like this. Saying this, the teacher leaves and Nodoka starts tearing up. She is not believing this news of Yoruman retiring, but it has been announced on her official website as well. She cannot think of anything she can do now because Yoruman was the only thing that was making her go forward in her life. She is thinking about all this when suddenly she starts hallucinating and the laptop screen lights up. It is Yoruman and she is back to streaming. Nodoka cannot believe it, but Yoruman says that she cannot leave her viewers like this as she is cheering her on. She comes out from the screen to tell Nodoka that she is cheering her on and she should not stop. Nodoka has the motivation again and she is hyped up for her life again. The next day, tests are given back and we see that Nodoka has scored the highest again and she is back to being happy. She goes home and the teacher is very happy with the way she performed today as she is back to her normal hardworking self. The teacher leaves and Nodoka gets to her goal and starts practicing singing and dancing. A few days later, Oda was given time from Nodoka to study when Oda went to her home. We look at Nodoka and she is not looking good. She has dark circles under her eyes and Odo gets to know that she has not slept for 4 days because she wants to do so much. Odo tries telling her that she needs to rest, but she does not listen. Upon entering her room, Nodoka faints and falls to the ground. She is not alone as there are a lot of other similar cases of people randomly fainting. It is all over the city and the hospital is in an emergency state because of all the cases coming in. A streamer made everyone faint because of her retirement. Now that is popularity. Nodoka is admitted to the hospital. Odo goes to the roof where Sumeriko and MC are sitting where Odo tells Sumeriko that Nodoka is in bad shape. Sumeriko has heard that all of the cases are people who were ardent fans of Yoruman, which tells them something. MC has a theory of what this is and reminds Sumeriko of the discussion they had about Shukumigo. That it is something that was not cared for or treated the way it wanted to be and is not set out for revenge. This time, it might be Yoruman and she might be on to people through different means. We see Nodoka in her hospital room and she is not looking good. We see a cat take a look at her and it runs back to where it came from. The cat runs to someone and we see that it is the Cat King. The cat reports what it saw and the Cat King is pretty happy as everything is going accordingly for her. We see Oto on the roof with Sumeriko and MC again when she asks MC if he can help Nodoka with this. He can and he tells her that she has nothing to worry about now. The Cat King on the other hand does a weird cult-like ritual dance and is happy as she has everything right where she wanted it to be. What the hell was this dance? So the mermaid tuber, Himuo Yoruman, hijacks the screen world to pass her greetings to all the small fries. Sumeriko talks about Yoram, like wildfire, taking over the popular streamer's videos with flashing speed. Hadashino worries about her minor meltdown causing havoc and indiscriminate scattering among her fans. Later, Odo guides Sumeriko and Adashino to Nodoka's room, where they spot Blondie going ballistic at this poor guy. Flipping her lid, she is typing like a maniac until Odo calls her out nicely. With her sorry ass dropping here unannounced, she introduces her big bro, Ren, and her apartment wife, Sumeriko. Just then, she starts typing like an ultramaniac to make up for the time she lost talking to these nutjobs. Ren walks ahead to sniff out Nodoka's laptop and whips out a marker, throwing curveballs until Sumeriko snatches him like he is some kind of handbag. Fishing for the details, Ren asks Nodoka if she heard people falling unconscious, blurting out that Yoruman isn't who Blondie thinks she is. Thus, he accuses that mermaid nutjob of being a curiosity, broken free like a loose cannon from her digital image. Moving on, he tells a tale of the horse from the painting, who loves to spoil the fields each night by hopping out of the Ima tablet. But after drawing reins in a post, the curiosity came to a screeching halt and hit a dead end. That's when Sumeriko gets the point that Ren is only trying to overwrite the data by drawing something. So basically, the lad's intention is just to save Odo's friend rather than chopping off the source entirely. Kujigoshi Hu, the 9-character self-defense, Ren, talks about amidivers putting on the sigil to ward off misfortune. And this way, drawing the device directly might do the trick here. However, Blondie's Fandral obsession refuses to give up, posing as Yoruman's die-hard fan and muttering that her idol loves encouraging her fans. Just then, Unane walks in to introduce Mikamo to Nodoka, a wheelchair brunette, who knows everyone around her already as Unane fills her in on her way here. Suddenly, she begs Sumariko and others to save Yoruman's ass. After Unane lays out all the details of this chick, and how she bumped into her at the hospital for regular checkups, which is where she learns Mikamo is of tuber. Just then, Mikamo's whimpering voice whines about Sumariko's giant melons freaking her out. Other than that, Mikamo, courtesy of Unane, bets that she is the best person to ask about the curiosities. Though this is all rubbing Sumariko the wrong way and pushing her buttons, as Unam calls her goodies just a lump of fat. However, Sumariko can't help but notice how exactly opposite she is off-air. But she says her younger days were filled with chaotic energy, just like that until 6th, 7th grade. After that, the news came hard as a 12-year-old girl was diagnosed with an untreatable progressive disease eating her off slowly from the inside. Unable to walk, Mikamo talks about the worst possible part is putting everyone in big-ass trouble for literally everything. She talks about constantly listening to her mother for not giving her a healthy body. Watching her parents sink into depression, she just wished to run away every damn day. With no hope, she expresses how Himyo Yoruman gave her a fighting chance, lighting a fire of hope in her. So basically, this chick, putting her functional upper body to good use, pretended to be Himyo Yoruman to give off an audition for VTuber. Long story short, this chick won everyone in no time at her audition, where the workers tirelessly worked their butts off to build up a character for her. Not only that, those dimwits created her as a mermaid out of consideration for her body. Moving on, Mikamo as Yoruman sweeps the internet by cheering up the people who are battling their uncontrollable, nasty situation as a voice of hope. However, her body is at the breaking point, and she can't endure it any longer after pushing herself to a great extent. Later, getting to know this on-scene event, she had no smarts to deal with any of that. Knowing she hasn't popped before, Mikamo, Sumariko, and Ren decide to save Yoruman instead. Trying to connect all the pieces, as Yoruman only appears to cheer the viewers, Ren bets this chick isn't on a vengeance spree. Thus, he spells it out for Mikamo that she has brought out a Gurei, an image spirit. Hence, he tells a tale of the Bus3ty era at Kajuji Temple, where a woman pops out of the painting onto a worn-out folding screen. After investigation, Ren explains how that screen was painted by a precious artist. Later, while repairing the painting, they stored the screen with caution, resting that woman's soul. So basically, this ugly loser is implying that Gurei is born when people blow their hearts to breathe life into a painting. Which is just curiosities Hanman sentiments their artist blew into them. Ren then tells Mikamo that Yoruman is working her ass off to fulfill her wishes to cheer people on. However, Sumariko bets that this much cheering doesn't whack out all the people's brains and cause them to lose consciousness. For that, Ren explains how Yoruman's endless whispers of support encourage the lot to work their butts until they collapse in fatigue. This is how Ren portrays excessive support for being a curse as it is, calling this a sort of artificial divine possession. Just then, Ren talks about using Kaniage to blow this spirit away from good, which means turning Yoruman into a regular image. Blondie catches this news off guard, while Ren asks Mikamo's and her fans' assistance in this pressing matter. Suddenly, Nodoka has no intention of helping in this operation, revealing how this Yoruman will never abandon the lot as Mikamo did. Mikamo reveals how she will soon lose the ability to talk or walk, but she thanks Yoruman for giving her a chance to become an idol. However, this chick mentions regretting hearing people talk shit about Yoruman for causing this much trouble, which she wishes not to leave behind unattended. After a touching speech, this wins Blondie's heart and gets everyone on board. Thus, Ren decides to hold off a big-ass stage for Yoruman's live graduation concert to send her off nice and easy. With all the preparations done for Kamiage, Ren talks about starting with greetings, welcoming, and then seeing the deities and spirits off in order. Further on, he explains the need for the required ingredients of focus to be a possession, a priestess, and a believer. In this case, they are the avatar, the actor, and the fans. All in all, Ren reveals how the priestess's voice, Mikamo, has to send her off gently. Just then, Yoruman enters but also pops out of Nodoka's screen as Ren sends Mikamo a signal for the salutations. This catches everyone off guard as Yorumun fills the room with a water bubble, trapping Ren in her hold, followed by Odo, Sumeriko, and Nodoka. However, Unane gives no shit as she can fry this nutcracker for dinner, so she electrifies the water to burst that bubble in no time. Ren admires Chinrinki for saving their asses on time, but this dumb fish forgot what she was doing, so she pops back on the screen for her graduation ceremony and Mikamo takes over from here. Knowing Yorumun is talking to the person inside her, she gallops with joy to see her dream come true. Suddenly, Mikamo shares a link to this news as Yorumun learns her bothersome butt is causing chaos. With a flashback to the times they both cheered on people who showered them with endless gratitude for helping them walk, Yorumun gives in. This mermaid nutjob holds Mikamo's hand, telling her they did the very best they could. So Mikamo thanks her, knowing everyone will do alright as she is joining her pretty soon. But Yorumun has other plans for this chick, as she pops out to snatch a goodbye kiss before she leaves. Just then, Yorumun, ever the cutie, hops outside to give off her last grand stream to cheer all over the city, pushing them to sing and grab their dreams. Everyone gathers in the gallery to see her off, but Mikamo, with a surge of strength, runs to the gallery, bursting into tears to see Yorumun for the last time. Later on, Ren explains Yorumun's second name to be Jinjahime, a curiosity to dispel diseases, as Sumeriko calls it an amity. With this grand display of images powering up this curiosity, Sumeriko gets why that psycho hijacked so many streams. With her own efforts to scatter herself this far, Ren claims that she only wished to save Mikamo's life. Ren and Sumeriko are waiting for Nodoka to show up with the gadget Ren requested her to bring. She is here, and she has the tablet in her hand that Ren asked for her. Sumeriko is a little confused as to what this tablet means to Ren. That piece of trash is not gonna go for even a cent. Ren tells Nodoka that Odo has gone ahead already, so she must go after her if she wants to catch up to her. Nodoka goes ahead and goes after Odo while Ren examines the tablet in his hand. Sumeriko asks him if this tablet is also something cursed that could be of some use to him. He tells her that there is a guri sealed into this tablet and that maybe he can trade this cursed object to get the ticket to where he needs to go. Sumeriko is a little clear on the matter now and they start walking. As walking, she asks him about these gurias and how they have been showing up a lot lately. He tells her that animes, mangas, TV, shows, movies, and everything like that are more than ever now than before, which in turn means that gurias are more than before. Sumeriko is confident that she has one of hers as well somewhere lurking, and she will find it one day. They are walking further and they go to sit in a park. Ren is still examining the tablet while Sumeriko is trying to have a conversation with him. She knows she has to get his attention, so she brings up a topic that she knows will attract his attention for sure. She tells him that she has never told to anyone that she has never worn a swimsuit before. This made Ren open his eyes in sheer shock as he never thought she would be the one without this experience. She tells him that she has never been to the pool or beach with her friends. Every time there was a swimming class, she missed it because she was sick, so she never got to learn how to swim either. Hearing this makes Ren cry, and he is weeping thinking about poor Sumeriko. Sumeriko is not expecting this from him. Sumeriko suggests that she, him, and Odo should go to the beach one day together. Ren is on board, saying that he will pick out her first swimsuit for her, and she cannot say no. Sumeriko is not going to let him pick out her swimsuit, but Ren really wants to. He suggests some types he thinks would look really good on her, but she is not convinced. Ren is a little sad now because she would not let him do this for her. Meanwhile, we see the Cat King standing on the pole bridge while she watches these two interact. She is after Ren and she will do anything to kill him. She is trying to find the perfect opening. Cutting back to Sumeriko and Ren, he insists on doing this while Sumeriko refuses. She goes up to the edge of the park only to notice the cat that once stayed at hers. But she goes up further to see that the cat is the size of the house. She comes down surprised about to tell this to Ren when she notices the Cat King on the pole. The Cat King comes in front of these two in an instant from the pole. She orders the huge cat to hurt Ren. Ren has a call from the old man telling him that the cat lady is after him and she means to kill him. The cat swings her paw and sends Ren flying. The Cat King takes the tablet from passed out Ren. Sumeriko snatches the tablet from the Cat King from behind and asks her what she has to do with Ren. The Cat King orders the cat to hurt Sumeriko as well, but she does not, telling the Cat King that this woman let her stay at hers and also gave her some food. The Cat King understands and she decides to leave for the day. Ren wakes up messed up, but he is alright. He takes the tablet from Sumeriko and they go back home. Before parting ways, Sumuriko asks him why is he a little down. He lets her know that it is because she wouldn't let him pick out her swimsuit. They go their way, and we see Sumuriko thinking about how Yoruman became self-aware and all that. Meanwhile, we see MC going to the ticket counter and handing in the tablet as a trade for the ticket. The guy behind the counter lets him know that he shouldn't get his hopes high because of this. We see everyone busy doing their own thing. Odo goes to Shizuku and lets her know that she will not be spending her summer vacation here. Shizuku notices that she is wearing the clothes she gave her, and this makes her very happy. We see Sumuriko working on her novel. She is really head in on it because she wants to finish it as soon as possible. As she's working, the bell rings and she goes to open the door only to find Odo outside. She is here again and she wants to spend the night here again. Sumuriko lets her in. They both sit and Sumuriko asks her about Ren and where is he. She lets him know that he is trying to get the ticket and maybe he will get it. She is happy that she and Ren will be able to go back to their hometown again. Sumuriko was a little surprised, but she knew it was coming. She asks Odo when will they be leaving. She lets Sumuriko know that they will leave right after Sumuriko finishes her novel. It is because Ren wants to read it before leaving. This puts a lot of pressure on Sumuriko, but she is fine. She lets Odo know that if they are leaving right after she finishes her novel, then it is just about time as she is about to finish it. Odo is a little concerned for some reason, but she holds herself tight for now. Sumuriko asks her when her summer vacation starts. She tells Sumuriko that it is starting tomorrow, but she will be spending that in her hometown hopefully. Odo brings up the topic of her going to Nodoka's tomorrow as they are going to the pool together. This sparks up curiosity in her as Sumuriko was just talking about her never going to a pool before with her friends. She asks Odo if her swimsuit is in her bag right there because she would love to see it. She startles Odo being all forced about it as she asks her if her swimsuit is a cute one or not. Odo tells her she can see herself if she comes to the pool tomorrow with them. Sumuriko is going to pass it as she has no swimsuit right now. She wanted to get one, but she had no idea what to pick. We cut to MC sitting alone as he recalls what the guy behind the counter told him. He said that the Curiosity's data did not get into the device, but he should keep his expectations low. We did not get to see what they said after this, but we see it now that Ren got to know that he will be used as a ticket to the train and will be sacrificed in order to make Odo reach the final destination. This really took him by surprise as was not prepared to hear this possibility. The guy adds that he will be used as energy to the engine, meaning that he will be disappeared afterwards. What kind of a trade is this man? The guy is going to be used as fuel? He came out all disappointed, and now he has to make a decision. We cut to see the next day where Odo is at the pool with all her friends. Mari, Taomi, Nodoka, and others are here as well. They get in the pool and it is going great for everyone. Nodoka and Odo sit in the same floaty where Odo asks Nodoka about friendship and if it remains if two friends are apart. Nodoka tells her that if one is on the Earth while the other is on Mars, they are still friends. This relieves Odo and she is happy that Nodoka is her friend. After the pool, Odo lets everyone know that she and Ren will be visiting their hometown, so it is goodbye for now, handing them some heart envelopes. Odo comes back to Sumuriko's where she lets her know that she said goodbye to all her friends. As they are about to sleep, Sumuriko asks Odo about her hometown and how life is over there, to which she responds very vaguely. The next day, Odo goes to Ren, who is still sitting for the whole night, when she tells him as well about being sad saying goodbye to her friends. Sumuriko finished her novel and she got to know that Ren has a constipation, which is why he did not come to work today. She texts him telling him that the novel is finished, but he does not reply. This makes her worried about him and if he is alright or not. Ren is about to sacrifice himself as the ticket just so Odo would barely make it to the last stop. So this time life looks to be all black and white for this skinny boy who is burying a much skinny kid and sending his final goodbyes. And later the lad dies the same death of starvation as well. To the walk of the afterlife, that skinny kid walks into a swarm of shadows ready to welcome her as she calls out to Ren and I. This is where this girl introduces himself as Ogawa Sumuriko, who by the way, got a friend, Adashino Ren, who is never at a loss to say something. Scrolling down, Sumuriko whines about her deadest friend for scene zoning her, as the operator informs this chick that the user is out of reach. Somewhere else, this dark-headed girl, Oda, finally wakes up as the sunlight beams at her gorgeous face, and she hears someone's aggressive chopping. After greeting the messy-headed chef of a woman, Uname, Oda prays and apologizes to her for taking care of her ass again. While this lady got nothing to worry about because it's all summertime, she got the days off as well. Just as she remembered, this chick craved the ramen for breakfast. One bamboozled the sweet Oda with a big-ass bowl of ramen. And that just leaves Oda speechless with her jaw hanging like a ragged puppet. But the lady accepts the challenge, while Sumreko worries her ass off about her friend being out of reach. Thinking he might have blocked her, Oda thanks Uname for this delicious treat. With that attitude, Oda wins the lady and gets a full-time invitation for more delicious treats and a nice stay at Uname's home. Even then, Oda got another favor to ask as she hesitantly tried getting it out while playing anxiously with her fingers. Thus, she handed over her cell phone to Uname as this lady got question marks stamped on her forehead. Later, all set and done, Oda, about to leave, thanks her Uname-sensei for doing this much as Uname assures her of having her back. Hence, she wishes the kid a safe journey, which brings Oda to sudden tears. So she departs as Uname wishes for her safety, while Sumreko, like a raging fury, walks outside in frustration. In some dark room of bunk beds, a boy wakes beside his phone and steps down the stairs in half-shut eyes, barely making any sense. Suddenly, he bumps into an old-timer who never knew he could come to a nasty place like that. Having a know-how about the lad's complex situation, the old-timer is about to present some hardcore advice that might come in handy. However, this boy got a whole lot of questions to ask this old buffoon. But the old man asks if he is leaving tomorrow and if he has any intention of going back with his little sister. Seeing his not interested butt, the old-timer tells about this cat arriving soon. Out of the blue, Oda comes running like a runaway teenager and casually sits on a bunch as if waiting for someone to arrive. All of a sudden, there's a bit of a flashy light and blur, as it looks like this chick got a mojo on with her weird purple eyes. Just then, and she asks Ren-ni if he got anything to worry about. Thus, some guy's voice resonates in her mind like an echo as he says that these two need to talk. So he flows her through the details of hitting this evening train tomorrow, where this kid has to jump into the first train by herself. Upon asking, the lad tells her that he got some errands behind, so he will join her right when the next train departs from the station. However, this chick packs some guts, as she insists on being his side chick on hitting the train with him. Due to the ticketing shit, the lad assures this shorty to hit the train first, and he will follow her right back. With a warm hug, Oda finds this golden opportunity to ask if it is okay for her to crash somewhere tonight as well. Upon asking, she mentions arriving the next morning as soon as possible. Suddenly, a weird cat trail points at some Neko chick up in the air, asking if she is the mysterious disappearance's little sister. With a sudden click in her head, Oda growls like a wild tiger, demanding to know if her nasty bum is coming in Ren-ni's way. Just then, Ren-ni barges in on these two having a not-so-friendly chit-chat. Thus, he tells this Neko chick to back off from Oda, but she warns the lad not to let his dumbass get rid of curiosities. However, the lad assures her of leaving this place soon enough. While Sumreko is still hunting down that dumbhead, who, by the way, promises this chick to read her new novel. After laying down details and settling this with the Neko chick, they parted ways. On the other hand, Sumreko walks in a hurry, blabbering about some new moon shit, while Anima prays to her lord. Reaching home, Sumreko finds a dead plant, while Ren-ni hands Odo the ticket for the train with the promise of a happy life. Strolling in the station, Odo got her ticket suddenly torn a little, but these duds continue inside a trashy train station that looks to be probably haunted. Suddenly, she mumbles about believing this story about being his little sister for the past 10 years. However, suddenly, she shares about remembering her big brother turning into a curiosity called Adashino Ren, which is how she can put a curse on him. Upon asking, she explains the curse about how if he didn't come back to see her living a happy life, then he wouldn't be able to bear it. And that's how Ota, this cutie, catches her big bro's only lie. Thanking her big brother, she hops into the train filled with dead-ass zombies or something. Just then, Ren-ni evaporates into dust like Spider-Man in the Avengers Endgame. On the other hand, Sumreko watches a man talk about the bearers of youth, who Adashino-kun talked about. Thus, the old-timer mutters about Adashino's deepest regret of never snagging a bath with her. However, she demands how this old buffoon knows this much, but the old-timer assures her of that guy leaving the station already, with only the sister hitting off this time. Upon asking, this clumsy dud spills the beans about Adashino never having any sisters, as real Ren-ni is still over there. After telling this chick about his name as the old man of time and space before departing, even when nobody asked. The next day, a sudden doorbell wakes this sleepyhead up, as Sumiko goes to get the door, which happens to be Yu's name. Informing her about having an urgent business, she admires how this novelist nerd decorated her place. Handing her the drinks, Aname asks if this is her new novel on the table, which by the way is still a draft. Upon asking, Aname straight up hands over a phone, which Sumiko bets it belongs to Odo. Thus, she mentions the shorty coming by yesterday and recording a video of her. Not only that, this kid begs the heck out of Aname to show this to Sumiko the exact day after she leaves. And this is where this curvy chick plays the video to see what this shorty got to say. Calling her out as apartment wife, Odo informs this chick of leaving without a final goodbye. So her sorry ass apologizes right away. Like a whimpering crybaby, she slips down, thanking Sumiko for everything she did. Seeing Sumiko's shower of tears, Aname talks about how because of her, Odo's life got so much fun. Later on, she finds a trail of flowers, and she follows it like she used to. Upon entering, an old lady welcomes this chick after a long absence and hands over her new novel. Happily accepting this generous offer, she asks the chick to have a look around. Picking out the price of adultery, the old lady asks Sumiko why the heroine's new novel doesn't get read by this mysterious disappearances person. However, she got her own uptake on this, as she explained that this guy might be letting himself be tied to this world by regrets. Thus, she mutters about this person holding on to something he loves in this world. On the spark to change the novel, the old-timer refuses the thought, as the heroine isn't aware of this happening, and might make the novel pointless. After knowing this claim that his feelings will end, Sumiko spots a black smoke wobbling around. Just then, she finds herself before the purple shadows, asking Adashino-kun to hear her out. Looks like her writing mojo is a no-zone without this guy, demanding that she need him in her life. Just then, he holds her hand, but knowing she still won't take a bath with him kind of catches him off guard. Later, Adashino joins his part-time job again with Sumiko, as she hands her this Tan-chan, the glutton book, which says, "I am happy." And this assures the lad that Odo might hop in here to buy her new book someday.